Happy Monday, everybody. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to roast, a lot to react to. We have a special guest here today. So grab a beverage. Hopefully you're wearing something very comfy. Smash that like on your way in and let's get started.
If you like what you see, come and get it with me. I know you deserve all you want. 'Cause your heart's made of gold, but don't wait till you're old. If you want it, I get you some.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Stand-up comedian, pop culture vulture, grift reaper, dopamine queen, and narc slayer, Joleen Lunzer here for another little no offense, all offense, you guys, where we talk about the things that are spiking our dopamine, whether it's pop culture, true crime, reality TV, anything that is really, getting that dopamine up. But first, you guys, make sure you smash that like. All right, hit that subscribe. The more people that like this video, the more it puts it out into the algorithm, lets people know that we are going live because we have such a fun guest today that I'm super excited about. Just a couple things before I bring the guest up. Remember, everything I say today is true, except for the parts that are false. Everything is alleged and for entertainment purposes only.
Allegedly.
Also, I'm very opinionated. My guest will have her own opinions, but that doesn't mean you have to have the same opinion. You're welcome to sound off in the live chat or the comment section if you're on the replay crew, and we can just respectfully agree to disagree like Tamara Judge.
That's my opinion!
That's just our opinion. If you want to support the channel further than liking or subscribing, you can do what Janine did here and become a member of the channel. Thank you so much. Welcome, Janine, to the LEEN team. Appreciate that.
Now. I make money.
Hopefully you guys can hear the soundboard. Or you can do what Cheryl did here and you can send a super sticker.
I don't dance now. I make money move.
You guys are giving me all of the examples right out the gate. Or a super chat, like it's just me, Sherry did.
I don't dance now. I make money move.
Says, where's Nana? Nana has a life, unfortunately. I wish she didn't. I wish I was the center of her whole life because I want to hang out with her all day, every day. But she has a life. And I can't stalk her. She will get a civil stalking injunction on me. Okay. I have to give her space. She's in retirement. She's still in love with my dad. They're planting. She has her mulch. So I have to respect that. Michelle's Three Boys, thank you for being a member for 3 or 4 months.
Now. I make money
You look gorgeous as always. Michelle, you're too kind. Looking forward to hear what Lori has to say. Yes, we have Lori.hellis. I'm going to bring her up here. We also have JOJO chats, you guys. I have it pinned in the live chat. All right. The JOJO chats. And it is a way for you guys to send me my cat. Producer Prince just like jumped to the top of his scratching post very aggressively. He's such a big, wonderful boy. But I don't think he's going to work today. I don't know if he'll come over here. Hopefully he'll come say hi to Lori. But if you want to send a JOJO chat, click on the Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. Leave any comment you want. We'll read it aloud to the class, to everyone. And we will have a good time. Again, you don't have to do any of those things. So don't be like, oh, I don't want to give this bitch money. You don't got to give this bitch money. You know what I mean? Like you can tip it or you can not, or you can just sit back and enjoy the show. Nina, thank you so much for the super chats.
I don't dance now. I make money move.
Says, listen, Joleen, now that you've dumped Trisha for me, okay, don't dump me for your, well, I have had a girl crush on Lori.hellis since the beginning of covering this. So it's different. It's different with her, Nina. All right. And that's okay. Heather in the library. Thank you for becoming a member.
I don't dance now. I make money
All right.
move.
And you guys, again, feel free to put some questions in the live chat. I'll be checking it from time to time. And I'll be checking my JOJO chats here a little bit later because I want to give my full attention to our guests. I also want you guys to go and subscribe to Lori's wonderful channel. And I dropped it in the description. I also put her link in the live chat, but I want to put it again so that you guys go subscribe, show Lori all the love. If you're not already subscribed, obviously, I'm sure a lot of you are subscribed already, but if you're not, hello, she's the real deal. All right, so let me just put that here. Lori.hellis. Okay, without further ado, you guys, oops, I put Lori.hellis. Okay, hold on. Jesus. Okay, I really need to go to the eye doctor because this shit is not working for me anymore. Okay, there's Lori's channel. You guys, open a separate tab. Subscribe. Hit her with the subscribe right there. Rachel, welcome to the membership. Use those emojis.
Now. I
And Wicked Stitches, thank you so much for the super sticker. All right. So without further ado, you guys, let's bring up our guest, Lori.hellis. Hello, Lori. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Yay. I'm good. I'm so happy we could finally collab. I dropped the ball in February. I was supposed to have Wonderful Lori up. And then in my neurodivergence, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And to be honest, I feel like I want to be ready when I have you on the channel, even though I'm not really ready, because, you know, you are my girl crush and everything. And so I don't want to just lollygag, but I'm probably going to lollygag, but you get it, right, Lori?
Yeah, you know, but I think it's a mutual girl crush. So
stop
we're
it.
even.
Oh my God.
So I'm excited to be here too.
How are you doing? How are you feeling? How's everything?
You know, I'm doing really well. Probably not everybody knows. I got a recent breast cancer diagnosis. I am super grateful that it was caught very early on a routine mammogram screen. So this is my pitch for go get your boobs checked because mine trying to kill me. But it was caught very early. And so I had surgery to remove the tumor, and I'm going to start radiation in about 10 days. And but because it was caught so early, didn't have any lymph involvement for y'all, all too TMI, I guess. But so I'm doing great.
Good. I love to hear that. We're sending you all the good vibes, Lori, your way. And yes, like as far as getting routine mammograms, I mean, so important. I just got my yearly notification that like you're due for another squish. And so it is important. I think everyone should just get it.
Yeah.
Like we shouldn't have to have any kind of coverage. Women should just be able to go in, check the tits. Let's do it.
Yep. Yeah. I have a group of women friends, all of a certain age. And so I started a group chat with them, text messages just to keep them up to date on what was going on. And I titled it the TLT Club. That's the Traitorous Left Tit Club.
Not you need merch. You need merch for that, Lori. Oh my God. I'll wear that shirt.
So what?
The traitorous
all is well.
I got kitties on my titties today, so I would wear that merch. Lori, we're so glad that you're here. And we're just always sending you good vibes, girl crush. So I sent Lori, I've been covering this Trisha stuff, right? And I didn't want to find any of this out, Lori. I just wanted to hop on my bookshelf, like you know, and laugh. But then all of a sudden, Trisha took those field trips and things got weird.
Yeah.
Now, when I have to ask, like like Lori is an author, she's a lawyer, she's the real deal. I mean, hell, Lauren Matthias wants to be you, in my opinion. These are my opinions, okay? So, you know, when you saw this as a lawyer, what were your first reactions to Trisha taking us seemingly I mean, I could be wrong. I want to hear from you on this full self-snitching, admitting to crimes field trips.
Well, there's no question it was a little weird. Now, I have to say that when I first got involved with Lauren, she was, of course, very thick with Tricia. So I think I was on Trisha's show once with Lauren. It's, you know, it's been a long time and I've been trying to block all that out, you know. But,
I don't blame you.
But Tricia never really struck me as someone who was particularly serious or and she I didn't like the bumbling old lady routine that she did. I didn't like it. So I wasn't that excited about Tricia. And then I don't know, a couple of years ago, I guess it's been now, I happen to know the people who bought Chad Daybell's property. So after Chad and Lori's trial was over and Chad Daybell had put up his property in lieu of attorney fees because he didn't have any money. So he basically signed his interest in his house over to his lawyer.
Okay.
So after the trial was over and everything was said and done, the lawyer took possession of the house and put it up for sale. So these people who live nearby, near Rexburg, realized that the house was up for sale, and they knew that there were a couple of people who were involved, who were interested in looking at the property. And one of them was a group that wanted to buy it as and use it as a murder Airbnb.
Oh my God.
Apparently, this group was buying up these sort of notorious places and turning them into Airbnbs for the, yeah.
Oh, God.
So these people who live in the community said, there's no way we want that going on in our community, and we don't want that disrespect for the victims. And so they put up the money and paid cash and bought the property.
Good.
So very well-intentioned folks. And but it all happened really fast because the property went on the market. They were out of town. They were sort of dealing with realtors long distance. And so before they were able to get back into town and have some conversations with the victims' families, somebody at the title company let slip that the property had been sold and who the purchaser was.
Oh.
And some of the family members were really upset about the fact that nobody had consulted them. So I was kind of mad because these people put $300,000 up of their own money to buy this property, not knowing whether they would ever really be able to do anything with it. Right? They just didn't want somebody else doing something awful
Gross.
in their
Yeah.
community. So there were some people who were very angry about it. And so on one of my lives, I said, look, if you didn't put up the money, then you don't get a say. You know, I mean, there were family members who did have the wherewithal to buy that property and decided not to. So it wasn't so important to them to have control over what was going to happen on that property. So the people who bought it worked with a local construction company who volunteered their time, and they went in and they took down all the buildings. So it was no longer attractive for people to break into it or hang out on it or, you know.
Drive by, I'm sure, put pictures, videos, I can only imagine.
Right. And they did talk to the family about it, but at the time, you know, I said, and I owned that I said this. I said, I don't really care what some of the family think because it's not their money and it's not their property. And if they wanted to say, then they could have bought the property, but they didn't. And I don't really care. First of all, I have talked to these people and I know that their intentions are good. And so what Lauren and Tricia did was they clipped that part of me saying, I don't care what Kay and Larry think.
Oh,
and
God.
that was and that was right at the sort of the height of Lauren's press to discredit me. And Tricia was part of that. So at that point I was like, I'm done with Tricia, you know.
She's so dirty.
Yeah,
that's what I've learned, and that kind of weaponized incompetence she does of like like you said, like the bumbling old lady. It gets so tired once you see through it.
Yeah,
and it sounds like you saw through it very quickly, Lori.
So I haven't had a lot to do with Tricia, and I sort of avoid. So I didn't really hear any of this was going on until I saw it on your show.
Yay!
And but you know, was I surprised? No, I think she's been grifting for a long time. The whole business about this woman's estate, and it seems clear that she's been sort of repeating this pattern with people who have been followers of Websleuths. You know, she kind of gloms on to some lonely person who has a lot of money and uses them. So I don't think this Janet person was the first one. But after you and I exchanged emails, I went back and looked at the, because I know how to do this, the whole court register and of sort of the sequence of events. So I can sort of cast some light on the whole sequence of events.
Yes.
So I don't know, as a guest, can I share my screen?
I
don't know whether I can.
I don't think you
not.
can on here.
Okay.
Is there
Because
a way
I
of
was just going to pull it up to
let me see if there's
illustrate.
any option on stream. Oh, I want to have you showing.
Well, let me see if I can do that. I'm just
Does it give you an option?
It does. So let me just see if I can do it. No,
Because that would be cool.
hang on.
Oh, yes.
You got it? Okay.
Yes, Lori, I didn't even know that was possible. This is awesome. Okay, yay, good.
Okay, so let me just pop over to, oops.
Look how prepared Lori came. I love it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll share that.
Okay. So this is what it looks like when you look at a court record.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this just says, I don't know if you can see my pointer, but this says
we can.
The estate and the case heading talks here are the parties.
Mm-hmm.
Janet Wolford, who is Beth B. I'm going to use their regular names because all of this stuff is public record. So
and Trisha's used her name and put it out there. Yep.
Dissing anybody or giving out information that should be confidential. So this woman's name is Janet Wolford. She's actually the person who died, the decedent in this case, and Patricia. So what happens initially is in November, Tricia files this new case. And what she asks for is an application to determine heirship and a request for letters of, they call it letters of administration. Different states call it different things. But essentially what it is it's the court giving the administrator or the person who's in charge of administering the estate powers to do that work. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that's important to remember is that any time that you are appointed in this sort of a role, you have what's called a fiduciary duty. A fiduciary duty is a duty to deal truthfully and fairly with the estate, in this case, and with anybody who might be a claimant to the estate. So you have a legal obligation of transparency. And
I know I'm like, this is so fun. I'm honestly
get your legal lesson.
I love this because I feel like, Lori, I'm so new to reading these documents. I feel like a dummy. And I'm like, I need Lori Hellis to explain this to me. So you are doing like more than I ever expected. So thank you. Keep going.
So this would be like Wills and Trusts 101 in law school, or as we affectionately called it, stiffs and gifts. So
oh, the lawyer humor, I like it.
So the thing that happens is that the person applies to the court for the authority for the court to issue letters of administration. Some states call them letters testamentary. That gives that person the authority to act on behalf of the estate of the person who's dead. So we see in November that Tricia applies to get letters of administration in order to be able to administer Beth's estate. So one of the things that happens when you apply to be the administrator of an estate is that you have to notify anybody who would have a claim to the estate or anyone who's remotely associated. So Tricia's attorney had to do that. Well, apparently one of the people who had to be notified was Linda, who was the person
Daphne.
she refers to as Daphne. Okay. Yeah, there are too many people, so I'm just going to
Yep.
use their real names. So Linda then responds to the court. The next thing that happens is, prior to Linda objecting, the court issues temporary letters of administration, meaning they appoint Tricia to be the temporary administrator of the estate. And they do that while everything's processing. So it's not unusual, because oftentimes when someone dies, there's a lot of things that need to be done right afterwards to just pay funeral expenses. And, there's just a lot of things that have to be done within the month or so after someone dies. So often the court will appoint a temporary administrator to take care of those details. So the court actually appointed Tricia to be the administrator for 180 days. Then, really quickly on the heels of that, Linda then files an objection to Tricia was appointed on the 7th of November of 25, and Linda files the objection on the 19th of November. So it's not very long. She gets notice and she immediately files an objection. And then 2 weeks later, on the 1st of December, Linda applies to be the administrator and presents Janet's will. Okay. Now,
the 2011 will. Yes.
The initial filing that Tricia does, Tricia files saying that Janet died intestate, meaning she didn't have a will. Okay. Now, Tricia probably didn't know that Janet had a will.
Yep.
Because it was old. 2011. So Tricia files and says, this person died without a will, and their estate needs to be administered, and appoint me. So the court appoints her. And then really quickly on its heels, Linda files and says, hold on, I'm objecting, and I want to be the administrator. And oh, by the way, there is a will.
Ooh.
So then we get the will. So let me share that.
This is awesome, Lori. I feel like I'm learning. I didn't even know that Tricia had a period of time where she was the emergency, administrator. I knew she was looking for that, but I know this is like a little off topic, but it leads my head to go, what damage could she have done in that time?
Yeah, right.
Oh, fuck.
So then Linda produces the will. So here's the important part. Under personal representative, it says, so I'm just going to highlight that, she appoints Betty Jane Burks. Now, I don't know who Betty Jane Burks is, but she appoints Betty Jane Burks. Betty Jane Burks is also the person who, in this will, she leaves everything to. So I don't know if Betty Jane Burks is somehow related to Janet. I don't know. But in 2011, her will says that she's appointing Betty Jane Burks, and if she's unable to continue, she is appointing James R. Burks. Now, Betty Jane Burks lives in Duncanville, Texas, and James R. Burks lives in Glen Oaks, Texas. So I don't think they are husband and wife, but they may be brother and sister.
That makes sense.
And they may be some relative of Janet's. So she appoints them to be her personal representatives. Then further down in the will, under disposition of the estate, she says, I direct my personal representative to distribute So the way a will works is that you can give all or part of your belongings, your money in a will. So usually what a will say is, I'm going to give $10,000 to this person. I'm going to give my mother's wedding ring to this person, and everything else, which is called the residue of the estate, even though it could be the bulk of the estate, goes to somebody else. So what this says is all of the residue of my estate, so the entire estate, was to go to Betty Jane Burks of Duncanville for her own use. And if she does not survive me, then I leave this share of the residue of my estate to James R. Burks of Glen Oaks. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, apparently, both of these people are dead. That's what the documents from Linda say later. So then she says, if all of my named beneficiaries predecease me, which they did, then I want all of my estate to go to the Tri-City Animal Shelter in Duncanville. Okay. Or a successor or survivor organization if they're not still operating, which apparently they are. So Linda files this along with her objection to Tricia being named as the beneficiary. And so she files the objection and says, no, I should be the administrator. And oh, by the way, here's the will. On the 4th of, so that happens on the 1st of December. On the 4th of December, the court issues a vacation letter. Now, the only thing I can do is sort of interpret this from the sequence of events.
Okay.
Not every court gives you access to every document, and this one, it does not have a PDF attached that I can look at. So I couldn't pull this one up, but it issues a vacation letter, which tells me that it vacated Tricia's temporary orders. Okay. So remember, she was appointed as the temporary administrator for 180 days back on the 7th of November. But it appears that by the 4th of December, that appointment had been vacated. So the next thing that happens is then Linda files a document and says, I have talked to the beneficiary, the person who operates the animal shelter. I've talked to the beneficiary, and they do not have any problem with me being appointed as the administrator. They're
Linda rules.
Yeah, they're waiving any objection.
Bless you.
So sorry.
No, bless you, Trisha. It's Trisha. She does it. I'm telling you.
It's that time of year, you know.
Oh, allergies. My eyes are doing that. They're running right now.
Yeah. So Linda files a proposed order to the judge saying, hey, judge, I want to be the administrator. And oh, by the way, in case you want to sign this, here's a proposed order. That happens on the 2nd of February. Tricia files an objection to that. Now, it appears that sometime between February 2nd and April 29th, there may have been communication with the court about setting a hearing, but a hearing has not been set. So Tricia then objects to Linda's wanting to be the administrator and wanting the judge to sign a proposed order. And there is a court note on the 4th of May that appears to be one clerk saying to the other, we need to set a hearing on this. So, but no hearing's been set yet. So it's still really in limbo. So let's talk a little bit about sort of basic sort of wills and trusts things. If a person is a beneficiary, the court can appoint someone who's going to inherit from the will as the administrator. And the protections basically are the protection is that they have a fiduciary duty to anybody else who might be inheriting. So let's say in a family, there's 3 kids, and mom says, I want Mary Jane to be the administrator. The other 2 siblings can have confidence that Mary Jane is going to be a good administrator because the court's going to be overseeing it, and she has a fiduciary duty to deal fairly with all the other beneficiaries. But in the case where you have 2 people, one who stands to inherit and one who says, I don't really have a dog in this fight, I'm not trying to get anything, the court's typically going to look at him and say, well, I'm going to appoint the person who doesn't have any financial interest in this estate. So as far as we can tell, as far as I can tell from all of the documents, and what we know from Tricia, is that Tricia somehow believed that she was going to inherit something from Janet. And there's no indication that Linda ever thought that she was going to inherit anything. But it does appear that they were longtime friends and that Linda had much more access and was a lot more conversant with what Janet's estate was and what her wishes were and what her intention were. We know that Janet had enough confidence in Linda to make her healthcare trustee.
Yep.
And had enough faith in her that she would carry out her wishes. Everything we've been able to glean was that Janet was a kind of a private person, and that when she got sick, she decided on her own health journey and gave over to her friend Linda, if I become incapacitated, please make sure that my wishes are carried out. And Linda did that. That was not ever something that she entrusted Tricia with.
No, she did not, Lori.
Right. So in a hearing where a judge is going to be deciding who's going to be the administrator between Tricia and Linda, a judge is going to look at those factors, and a judge is going to say, well, this person, Linda, knew Janet for 20 or 30 years. They had talked about these things. Linda clearly understood what was important to Janet, and that they had sort of an understanding. And, for someone who is a single person, doesn't have children, doesn't have family, I think it's natural for them to seek out someone who is their trusted confidant and the person who they are going to rely on to carry out their wishes. So that all makes some sense. I think that it would be easy for Linda to make the argument that Tricia came late to the party, that she was somebody who Janet was underwriting. It was clear that this was somebody who was receiving some sort of support from her over the years. And I think one of the things that Tricia may have found to be worrying is the details of that, of anyone else having access to those accounts and being able to say, now, exactly how much money did you get from this woman over the years?
Right.
I think it's a valid question from somebody who's going to be administering the estate to look out over it and say, well, wow, how much did this woman actually give you over the years? And it's clear that it was a substantial amount. I don't think anyone knows for sure, but we know that that she answered when Tricia was complaining that she had to pay the server for Websleuths. And we know that there were a couple of new computers that were bought, and some of the other things we know happened. So you can sort of extrapolate that and say, well, she gave her a substantial amount of money over the years. And I think I think it's very likely that there's a lot more than anybody really knows.
Yes.
I think it's probably the tip of the iceberg.
I think you're right.
So I think that if we look back at Tricia's history and we look at the things that everybody else has been bringing up about the other people who contributed to Tricia over the years, she kind of has this pattern. This is her MO. And so I don't think anybody would be surprised to learn that she'd been nickel and diming Janet for several years. I mean, it's not an inexpensive proposition to move somebody from Utah to Texas.
No, it is not. Now, real quick, Lori, could Linda then take information from this previous lawsuit that Tricia was in, that we'll talk about later, from settled in 2014? Could she use that in this case if there's a court date and say, look, here's it, because you're saying patterns of behavior, and
Right.
her with money, look at what this is, a pattern of behavior. This woman's been sued before. She's been accused of fleecing, mishandling funds. She would be a horrible person to, run this. Could she use that information?
Sure. Anytime we're asking a judge to look at whether evidence comes in at a hearing, we're asking, is it relevant? Clearly it is. It's clearly relevant to Tricia's ability to manage money. And does it have sufficient indicia of reliability? Is it going to be reliable information? Well, sure it is, because a lot of it was sworn testimony in a deposition. So yes, a judge could say, well, it's a while ago, so it's more attenuated from what's going on now. But I think that Linda's lawyers would be able to argue it's not that attenuated, because it really shows this pattern. So we can say, we had the was her name Pamela? Was that right? The person who
The nun
bought into Websleuths.
Oh, Susan Pruitt.
Susan. So we have Susan. And then, she gets out of that little scrape with Susan, and then suddenly we have this next person. And then we have the guy who felt he was fleeced. And, it is going to be pretty easy for Linda's attorney to say these things are all relevant. And even though they may have happened a while ago, they really do set up this pattern of Tricia taking advantage of people who she meets through her online community. That would be the argument that the lawyer would use in trying to get that evidence in. And I think there's a good chance of bringing that in.
Oh, good. So it just kind of depends on the judge. If the judge thinks, like you said, that it's relevant to this,
sure,
given the time frame and stuff.
Right. But I think, I suspect it would come in.
Yeah, it seems like it. That is a good indication, patterns of behavior of how. And unfortunately for Tricia, I feel like her channel is a lot of her. They could pull so much if they really wanted to get into it of her by her own admission all throughout the years, that it has continued to be a pattern of behavior that she has taken and, had these issues. So, but she continues to, like you said, she doesn't want people to know about this. She doesn't want Linda to know, let alone us, and to be revealing this, because this stops the grift. So that's why she has been somewhat successful through the years. What I've noticed is rewriting her history, even with lawsuits, paperwork that's there that you can read. Yeah. She will say something there doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, she relies on the fact that people aren't going to do what people have been doing recently, and that's digging in and finding the documents and finding the depositions and really calling her bluff, because she has sort of relied on the fact that people are just not going to be that serious about it. They're just not going to, people are just, they're busy, and nobody's going to get serious enough about it to actually do all that in-depth searching and work. Yeah.
Yeah, boy, was she wrong.
So, well,
Trisha.
I mean, I think there are a lot of people on YouTube that rely on that, whether it is Lauren or whether it's JLR or whether it's Tricia. They sort of rely on the fact that people are just going to, their antenna is going to come up for a minute, and then they're going to go, I got more important things to do. And they rely on the fact that people are not necessarily going to hold them accountable because they're not going to do the work. I mean, let's face it, most people have the attention span of guppies.
Yeah.
But there are a few of us out there who look at it and go, wait a minute, something's wrong here. And I think the true crime community, there have been several people who have kind of given the community a bad name by using people in one way or another. And it's troubling to see these people who, the little old lady who lives on a fixed income and is donating $5 a month to Lauren's Patreon or Tricia's Websleuths. You gotta ask yourself, maybe that lady could have used that $5 for something else, or bought an extra can of cat food.
Yeah.
I mean, life's not cheap.
It's not cheap at all.
And
that's where I feel like it would just be better if, I think the true problem is that you can make money off YouTube. You can make as a content creator.
Sure.
There's so many ways through AdSense, and I'm getting super chats, so I'd be a hypocrite to say, oh, I don't make money off of people. But what I don't do is lie to them, and I don't I don't dry bag and say, well, everything is falling apart, and I don't tell them my problems. I don't hit them up separately. I don't expect that. I treat it like I did when I was a server at a restaurant in college, where if you want to tip my service, go ahead. But either way, enjoy your meal and have, go about your business. So I feel like Tricia and, Lauren and JLR, there's so many people that just aren't necessarily honest with them taking the money. There, where you have someone like, for example, Turtle Boy, who will be he'll say, I'm grifting, and he will just, and so then if people are able to have all the knowledge and fully consent to, like, I want to give to his grift, awesome.
Right.
So if Tricia would just go, I'm going to the casino, allegedly.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
If people want to give to that,
right.
there are literal casino channels where people pay to watch other people gamble. But I think the true injustice lies in the fact that these people think that they're helping this bumbling old lady, and it's under false pretenses, which makes them feel fleeced. And she does the love bombing and all the gross stuff, which, you know all too well that she does. So,
yeah. And I think, I think that it's unfortunate because the people who are donating aren't just saying, I'm going to give her $5 because she's entertaining. And
yes, exactly.
I'd pay $5 to see a movie on Netflix. I mean, I'm going to give her money because I'm entertained. That's one thing. But, on the other hand, it's like, oh, my roof's falling in and my car's broken and my cat's sick and my dog,
And my medications. I mean, she's used every excuse.
Oh, I know.
Lori. It's crazy.
I know. Yeah.
But there's a lot of people on YouTube like Tricia I've seen through the years.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
There are too many.
But then when it goes into going after what you just described, that going after a deceased subscriber turned friend's estate, there's something so disgusting.
Yeah.
About that. And
that's like beyond the sense of entitlement.
Yes.
Is so troubling. I mean, what makes her think that she's entitled to to this woman's estate. She goes on there and she talks about how this woman was a self-made woman, and she was in the oil industry in the 70s, and she was this powerhouse back when women weren't really allowed in the boardrooms. And she goes on about, how amazing this person is and how self-made they are. And then out of the other side of her mouth, she claims this sense of being entitled to this woman's wealth. I mean, I don't get it, but
I don't either. And, she has admitted and said multiple times how private, and you
Yeah.
mentioned that when you were
Yeah.
going through the court stuff. And it's like, then why would you do this? Like Trisha brought this to the internet. We would have never known or known to even look. Her
Nope.
and Stacy literally thought they had content on this. And
Yeah.
that's what really pissed me off, is when I saw the clip of them going, wait till you see, you guys, we have this, thing. And it's, oh God, and it's the worst fraud. And I'm thinking, they're doing it again. Similar to what happened with Christina. Similar to we've seen so many times, where they're using their platform, their true crime platform, to put crimes on people who have no way of defending themselves, because by Trisha and Stacy's own admission, they were like, oh, Daphne, Linda, she doesn't even know what we do. Like she couldn't find YouTube,
Yeah.
Like, my question is, what is Daphne? What could Daphne do to Trisha and Stacy now that we have all of these lives, all of these times where they've, went live and put crimes on Daphne with zero proof? Is there any kind of recourse that Daphne can do? Because I feel like she's just getting defamed.
Certainly. I mean, she's not a public figure. She's a private figure. And Trisha has, I would argue that there's a pretty strong case for defamation. But here's the problem. And I think it's the same problem you're going to find that Christina's run into. First of all, now, Lauren and John Matthias have deeper pockets. But the first thing is, and this is exactly what happened with Susan all those years ago when she bought into Websleuths, and it is that you get to the point where there's this point of diminishing returns. I'm going to pay a lawyer all this money to go after you, and I can win, but there's nothing to win.
True.
What is there to win?
Yeah, because there's no real criminal element. It would just be civil.
It's all civil, which, what's the remedy in civil? Money. So, I mean, to some extent, the two remedies are, you can get injunctive relief. You can stop somebody from doing something. You can get an injunction, but that's useless in this case.
Could she go after, here's a question, Lori. Feel free to tell me if it's crazy. Since Trisha has now openly said that all the money she makes on YouTube goes to DNA Solves, aka, the Spit and Spooge place, Othram, could Linda go after them and say, she's saying this on a platform that you're taking money from, you're in business with her, maybe she has a contract with them, you got to pay me because she's defaming me under this little umbrella that you're involved in.
So I guess I would have to know all of the ins and outs of how that's all put together. My understanding is that Websleuths, the platform, the online platform, belongs to Othram. They bought it. Okay. And
so the website
and the community, that belongs to them. Okay. But what Trisha is doing is something she's doing privately. Now, I understand that she's still doing it, calling it Websleuths. So it's possible that a lawyer could make that connection, but I think it's more likely that Othram is going to say, hey, this chick's on her own because we own the website. We own the Websleuths platform and community, But what she does on YouTube's on her own. That's
Mm.
her thing. The reason why I say that is because for a long time she wasn't monetized, and now all of a sudden she's monetized again, but now she's claiming that she's giving all the
Yeah.
proceeds to the nonprofit that's connected to Spit and Spooge. So I mean, I think probably that Othram is not stupid, and they have been careful to sort of insulate themselves legally from anything that she might be doing outside of that Websleuths website platform.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would be surprised if a corporation wasn't sort of protecting themselves. So I doubt that Othram is going to be the deep pocket where they could get anything. And so, I mean, she's basically judgment proof.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they can get all the judgments they want, but if you can't collect them, what's the point? And a similar example is and I don't remember any of these names. So the YouTube psychic who claimed that one of the professors at Idaho State, in the Koberger case, she claimed that one of the professors was responsible for the death of the students because she was having an affair with one of the students. It was absolutely not true.
Mhm.
There was no basis for it other than the fact that this woman said she was a psychic and she'd been given that vision. And she stood by that. The professor initially sent her a cease and desist and said, look, you got to stop this because none of it's true. And instead of, backing off, she doubled down. So the professor sued her. She represented herself. It all went to federal court. It was this big dust up. The woman essentially defaulted on the case, and she got like a $10 million judgment against her.
Oh, wow.
Where's that money going to come from?
Yeah.
It's not. And
Mm-mm.
how is this professor ever going to recover the damages, the actual damages of attorney fees and experts and all of that stuff that she had to do to defend the case? She's not.
Mm.
She's never going to collect that money from that woman. It's what lawyers call judgment proof. You can get all the judgments in the world against somebody, but if they have no assets, they just sit out there for however long the judgment's good for.
Oh, gosh.
So it's the same thing with Tricia. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure that Linda could sue her for all the awful things she said about her that are apparently not true, and probably easily proven not to be true. But the question is, if she sinks $10,000-$15,000 into legal fees to sue Tricia, she's never going to see that money.
Never.
Mm-mm.
Now,
Tricia probably doesn't make that in a year.
And if she does, it might go in a nickel machine, Lori. We don't know, allegedly,
well, that's true. Yeah.
But, I wonder because Trisha keeps saying her and Stacey, before they deleted the lives, which was so crazy because I was literally covering the second field trip as they deleted it. And I'm like, I mean, you saw my face. I was like, oh my God, they just did. I can't believe like we're onto something. These people are guilty. Allegedly. So, but they claim that they have these text messages that Trisha has text messages from Beth B of Janet, where she's telling her she's like a beneficiary or what she's going to get. Does that hold any weight if she brings to the table that against Linda?
Not really.
I don't think so.
So in most states, it's interesting because wills are still some of the most formal things that we do. Some of it is just sort of tradition, legal tradition. Some of it is the fact that you are dealing with a person who is no longer here to attest to their wishes. So we still require a tremendous amount of proof to of what a person's wishes are. That's why we require that there be witnesses and notaries and that statements be witnessed, because we don't have the luxury of going back and calling Janet and saying, "Hey, Janet, what did you really mean by this?"
Yeah.
So typically, what happens is if that information is outside the four corners of the will, it doesn't come in. We've even seen cases where people, let's say grandma has a will and she handwrites, "Oh, and by the way, I want Susie to have my diamond necklace." Well, in a lot of states, a judge is going to look at that and say, "I'm sorry, but a handwritten note doesn't carry any weight. What carries weight is this document that was witnessed and signed by people who attested that this was the person's signature and all of those things that indicate that it was truly that person's wishes." So those kind of enforcement things vary from state to state. But in general, those sort of extra testamentary communications, so things that are done outside the will, are not going to be recognized. So Tricia,
Makes sense.
producing a text where Janet, and again, we don't know what condition Janet was in. Was she on
Exactly.
pain medications? Was she, being given morphine? Was she hallucinating? I mean, we don't know. So the only thing a judge can do when presented with that information is to say, what I do know for certain is this document. What I do know for certain is this will that says that Janet wanted all of her property to go here or there.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, from 2011 until 2025, none of that matters because I can't provably look at a document and say, okay, Janet changed her mind. This text message that she sent to Trisha that said, I want you to have my car. A judge can't say, I can't prove that that actually was sent by Janet,
Mm-hmm.
that it actually was received by Trisha. I mean, there are a lot of ways that that could not be the case. So the
Yeah.
only thing that judges can do is to go back to the actual last document that is reliable.
And that makes so much sense that they would do that because look at what Trisha's claiming. She's literally claiming that Beth B, that Janet sent her a text after death that
Yeah,
Trisha found.
yeah.
Now, here's a question. Trisha basically admitted in these field trips to stealing, taking Beth B's phone after she passed because Beth B
Mhm.
wanted her to have it. She has nothing written, no contract that said she was supposed to get the phone. She's
Right.
also lied to Linda saying she doesn't have
Uh-huh.
the phone. She has a Faraday bag. I didn't even know what that was, Lori. People had to tell me in the chat.
Yeah.
So she's driving around with this stolen phone, which seems to be the place where her and Stacy have found out this alleged fraud by Linda. What can be done about this phone? Can the cops come in and say that's stolen? Like,
Yeah.
what can they do? What should
So
Linda do if you were her lawyer? What would you say?
what Linda will be doing if they ever get to a hearing is she will be saying to the judge, I need to be the administrator and I need the court to order that this Trisha chick turn over everything that she took. Beth's purse or Janet's purse and her
Yeah.
phone and the contents of all of that. I need her to produce that. And the judge would order that those things be given back to her. One of the questions I had was there was some indication that at one point Linda had a key to
Yes.
Janet's home, and then the locks got changed. So I think what happened was Trisha had the locks changed while she, in that brief little window where she was the appointed administrator, she had the locks changed.
That is a good theory
Yeah,
because
I think so.
again, going back to that, Trisha having those days, you said from the 7th to what was it again? I wrote it
Yeah,
down here. It was
I gotta
something. It
look
was
up
at
my
least
notes.
maybe a week or so,
Yeah.
where Trisha was the executor or whatever. What kind of damage could she have done? And is that something
Yeah, it was
Linda's going to have them look at, like what was
sure,
spent during that time? And would Trisha have to pay that back if she did
sure,
spend money? Because
sure.
I always pull this up, Lori, because this is so, I feel like this is one of the most damning things just to me, and it's just going to go over our face real quick, is that Trisha's claiming to her audience that I knew I wasn't going to get anything. She's, rewriting it.
Mhm,
But in her own paperwork, she says she relied on these promises to
mhm.
her own detriment. That
Right.
to me is like, you spent the money. You
Yeah,
spent some
it
of that
could be.
money.
There's also a creator out there, I think it's allegedly innocent.
Yes.
Um,
She's
and
great.
she is she's a
She is.
jewelry collector. And yeah, and she did the updo on her
Do on her.
channel
Okay, so the
background. Yeah, the upgrade
background,
on her
it
channel
was months
background.
after Beth B,
Yeah,
after, she had passed
yeah.
away, and Trisha said she paid for this. Well, why would it be if she passed away
Mhm.
in May, why are you
Yeah,
revealing this in September, October? That's sus.
yeah. And I don't know anything about the plastic surgery. I hadn't heard about that. But what was really interesting was her point was Trisha started wearing a lot of jewelry
Mhm,
that allegedly innocent felt was sort of over her out of her budget range.
mhm.
And I agreed. What was interesting was Trisha also started wearing a lot of sort of vintage 80s shoulder pad jackets and silk blouses and those sort of things. So I think it's possible that Trisha assumed that because Beth B had told her she could have those things, and she just went in and helped herself
Yeah.
and changed the locks to keep Linda out. Well, Linda got wind of it and filed on behalf of the estate. So it's going to be interesting to see what a judge is going to do with it. But I think that um, what I'll say about the documents that have been filed is that they have been pretty general and um, couched sort of in generalities. There's no specifics in there about, I know, there are no affidavits in there from Linda saying Trisha did this, Trisha did that, she took this, she took that. I think that's all going to come out in a hearing. I don't think we're going to see it in documents, but I think we'll see it in hearing.
Oh, I
So
hope so.
yeah. Um, yeah, and I think Trisha is I I would be very concerned with a client who is telling me somebody else committed fraud and this person did all these things and saying those things very publicly without a lot of proof that that was the case. Yeah.
Yeah, you would think. Now, the Trisha and Swamp Stacy, oh my God,
Swamp
they
Stacy, Frog
Rick,
Mama,
Frog Mama, that's a good one too.
Frog
Swamp
Mama.
Stacy, Frog Mama,
Yeah.
Marlboro Reds. She is over
Oh,
there, and they're claiming they have all this proof. Now,
right.
if they found this proof through whatever their proof's going to be, that they think is proof, through the phone that Trisha took from Janet, is that admissible since she got it from a stolen phone she wasn't supposed to have access to? That her and Stacy have allegedly went through the emails, the text messages to find these documents and these things that are so damning, according to them, it's going to rain a hellfire down on Linda. That's what they said. Would a judge, is that something that they could put into evidence, or would a judge say, no, you were never supposed to see any of these alleged things because it's not your phone. You took it. It's stolen property. Like, how does that work?
Well, it's certainly potential that a judge could say um, it it I think it's sort of parallel to a Fourth Amendment illegal search and seizure. I mean, it's not exactly that because it's not a criminal case, it's a civil case. But, if you illegally obtain information, then I think a judge would say, look, you can't bring in the fruit of the poisonous tree. You
Mhm.
can't steal somebody's phone and then want to put in all this evidence that you got that you weren't entitled to have. Uh, I seriously question whether or not there's all this evidence. I think there are a lot of emails and text messages going back and forth. And I think that it is potential. I think there's a potential that Linda was shit talking Tricia and trying to convince Janet that Tricia was taking advantage of her. And I think it's much more likely that that's in there than there is all of this great proof that Linda was
Yeah.
somehow defrauding.
Right.
So I mean, Tricia has sort of taken the position that Linda at some point disposed of some of Janet's property that she, I don't know, had a garage sale or
An
had
estate sale.
an
Yeah.
estate sale, and that she um, gave away the car. So, but we don't know any of that. And
Yeah.
if Linda has been working in finance for years, as we suspect she has, I guarantee that she has covered her ass at every juncture. Because the first thing you learn as a lawyer or a finance person is CYA. You document everything, right? You
Mhm.
have a paper trail for everything. So I guarantee that Linda's got a paper trail and that she can account for every penny of anything that she is disposed of.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if
I'm
you look at the two, I mean, from what we know about Linda, only because Trisha put this out there and you
right.
can search it, she has had a very successful career. She doesn't have a pattern of going online. She's never been
Right.
sued and pleaded the fifth, pled the fifth if she had a gambling problem. She
Right.
is on the up and up. She doesn't have a YouTube channel where she's grifting and her roof isn't falling in, and she doesn't have a
Right.
cousin named Greg who has no frontal lobe and is allegedly stalking her. Like Linda's she's good. Like these are all Trisha. Like
I know.
I mean, you just look at it. But one thing I
know.
wonder is with this stolen phone, is there any criminal element to this where she could face criminal charges for stealing property from a deceased woman at the hospital?
Potentially. But,
Who has to press that?
once again, you've got to get law enforcement involved and they've got to decide that it's a case they want to prosecute.
Can I press charges on her? I won't, but
Yeah.
I kind of, want to, but I wouldn't. But I mean, could Linda get law enforcement and say, she stole, like
Hang on, I need to answer a quick text
Oh,
message. That
yeah,
I
no
didn't want
worries.
to think I was ignoring you, but my yard
No.
guy's telling me he's not coming today. So
Oh, no. I'd be like, get there, yard guy.
I know my grass is getting so long.
Oh, no,
So,
not the Arizona long grass.
but he's a sweetheart. I wish it were Arizona instead of Oregon.
Oh, you're in
No.
Oregon? I thought you were in Arizona.
I was in Arizona for about 3 years
Okay.
and loved it. Absolutely loved it. Loved having an orange orchard in my backyard and a swimming pool and,
Oh, yeah.
being able to move my office outside in, February. But my husband is a tried and true Oregonian for,
Yeah.
he's the kind who's got moss growing on the north side of his nose, he just
It's literally a part
So,
of him. I
yeah,
get it.
oh yeah.
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 Mhm.
So, and my daughter was working and living and working in LA and decided she needed to move back to Oregon. So we're all back in Oregon again.
Oh, I love
So,
that. I always
yeah.
think I'll make my way eventually back to Minnesota because my mom
Yeah.
is there, my family. But
Yeah.
I spent, I met my husband in Arizona, so I always have a special place. Started comedy in
Yeah.
Arizona, and so I do. I
Yeah.
love Arizona so much.
I
So when I heard you say Arizona, like
I
early on in
loved
this, I was like,
the lifestyle. Yeah,
right.
I
It's
did. I really loved the lifestyle. But,
Mhm.
you know, this is okay too. What I always say about Oregon, and we live in Central Oregon up in the high desert. Oregon is not the kind of place you leave in the summertime. It's heartbreakingly beautiful. I
Yes.
mean, snow-capped mountains and hiking and wildflowers and,
Oh, wow.
I mean, but, for the other like 8 months out of the year, you're like, is the sun ever going to come out again? And, you
That's like
know,
Minnesota. You
if I
wait
have
for
to
those
shovel
couple
snow,
months.
yeah, if I have
Yes.
to shovel snow again, I'm going to kill myself, those sort of things.
Yeah,
But
totally. Drive in it, shovel,
yeah, right.
all the things.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But
So,
well, I love that.
yeah.
But as for the criminal element, so someone would
Mhm.
have to press charges, get the police involved and say she stole this phone.
Right.
Here's proof of her admitting she stole the phone because
Right.
Linda's asked her for the phone and she's lied to Linda many
Yeah.
times. Trisha admitted that. So you would think Linda could.
I think Linda could. Linda would need to go to law enforcement and she would need to say, look, this woman has done these things. She took this deceased woman's purse and her with all of her important things like credit cards and all those things in it, took her phone, um, changed the locks on the house, I mean, there's sort of this pattern. But, to be honest, she would need to get law enforcement involved, and law enforcement would then have to refer it to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor would need to decide that it was a case they could prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So,
Oh, wow.
it's not so simple. There is this sort of common misconception that citizens can press charges, and
Yeah.
it really doesn't work that way. It works, you report to law enforcement that you think there's been a crime committed. Law enforcement does an investigation and they refer it to the prosecutor, and if the prosecutor feels that there's enough evidence to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, then they file a charge.
Yeah.
And
I know, because I'm just thinking, yeah, I'll do it if I have to say, hey, to see Trisha in handcuffs for this would just,
yeah,
it would just make me a little happy, but that's okay. That's
no, I get that, and I understand that sometimes there's some real miscarriages of justice that occur because there's just not enough, or there's not a willing prosecutor who's willing to say, yeah, I'm going to present this to a grand jury, or I'm going to file on it. So, I get it. It's frustrating sometimes
yeah.
to see people in our way of thinking getting away with things.
Yes, especially to vulnerable people who gave you so much,
Yeah.
an elderly woman who then is sick, and then how Trisha has disrespected her after passing, sharing all
Yeah.
this information, making it content, but then,
Right.
projecting onto everyone else how us going over this is making a joke out of her
Yeah.
friend. It's like, ma'am, no one would know anything about your friend
Yeah.
unless you brought it here. You're the only one
Yeah.
making the joke. You literally made your friend, your private friend who gave you so much content after her death. It doesn't get much, in my
Yeah.
opinion, grosser than that.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
So,
I think it's particularly egregious because
mhm.
this clearly is a woman who valued her privacy
Yes.
and who felt strongly um, about the way that she was going to conduct her life and her death. I mean, I haven't watched all of Trisha's stuff about this, but it was very clear from the beginning. I don't think she told Trisha that she had cancer.
She didn't.
Um, and and you got to wonder, if if this person who you're so close to doesn't confide that in you,
Mhm.
then something else is going on. I think Janet had a very clear idea of how she lived and her intention for how she was going to die.
Yeah.
And they were very clearly her choices. So, she confided that in Linda, and not only that, but asked Linda to take over for her if she couldn't make those decisions and carry out her will and her wishes. Um, and I think that some of the most personal things that you do are give birth, and die.
Yeah, it's true. It is
And the
true.
choices that you make surrounding those huge life events are very personal to you. One person may say, yes, do everything you can to prolong my life. And the next person might say, make me comfortable and I'll see you next time around.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, yeah, and you have those conversations. I mean, I know, my husband, he's an ICU nurse, so he
right,
literally, we know exactly, he's seen people
right.
suffer. He's seen families,
Yep,
prolong that. So he's very clear on, we've had conversations. If it's you, what do I do? If it's
right,
me, here's what I want.
right.
And so, she trusted Linda with that. And you can tell when Trisha is on one of those field trips, the second field trip, that she's like, well, she had, she had Daphne be the medical power of attorney, whatever. You could tell there was a big part of Trisha that wanted that power
Yeah,
over Janet, and she didn't get it. And I think, just
yeah,
like you said, it's very telling to how Janet really felt about her, that really she didn't give her any responsibility given her finances or around, Janet's health. And it's because who would? I mean,
yeah,
she's literally taking care of this woman like she's a child.
yeah.
And she sees Janet was around for the lawsuit. So she
That's right.
knows what Trisha's capable of.
Yeah.
And so Trisha trying to rewrite history to her audience like she was some super trusted. No, Janet, no good deed goes unpunished in this situation like
Oh,
Janet's,
that's true.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And Janet seemed to be a very good person. And I don't think she probably knew that Trisha was going to do this after
Oh,
she
I
passed.
can't imagine that she would have, I can't imagine that she would have thought, this is something my friend would do to me or could do to me. I mean, I'm sure that she didn't think, oh, surely my friend is going to exploit my estate and my death.
On her
Who would
shitty
think
YouTube.
that?
It's not even a
Yeah,
good YouTube channel, Lori. It's so
it's
shitty.
not.
Oh my God. The quality, the producer that never shows her face,
Yeah.
it's like Janet deserves so much better. But what could someone like Linda, how do people prevent or stop people like Trisha from totally, going online and saying all of these crazy things about them and putting not just crazy things, because it's one thing, we're on YouTube, people say, oh, you suck, Joleen, you're not funny, whatever. Who cares about that? But putting
Right.
crimes on a private citizen and
Yeah.
for content and, it just seems like, is there anything that you can do to protect yourself from Trisha? Because if this doesn't go Trisha's way,
Mhm.
in my opinion, there's a good chance. I think Trisha's a very vengeful person. She's very vindictive.
Mhm.
And I think that's why she's really going after Linda, because
Mhm.
Linda cut her out. Linda said,
Mhm.
oh, I don't care about if you got text messages. I wouldn't be surprised. Like you said, Linda was Janet's friend for a long time. She's probably like, oh no, now I'm in charge. Okay, you've taken
Yeah.
advantage of my friend in life. You're not
Sure.
going to do it in death. That's my assumption of Linda.
Sure.
And so, but how does someone stop? It's baffling because I feel like this poor woman is just, I feel like Trisha, once it doesn't go in her favor, there's a good chance Trisha's going to continue to disparage this woman online. Is there anything she can do to stop her from doing that?
Well, certainly if she is continuing to disparage Linda, Linda certainly has some recourse, particularly, in the form of a defamation suit. I think that if she goes into it with the assumption that Trisha doesn't have anything she wants, but that she may be able to shut her up.
Yes.
I mean, there's some things we don't know. Is Trisha is living in a rental, but who owns that rental? Do we
I got tipped
know?
off that it was someone, it wasn't under allegedly, because I didn't,
Right.
double check, but people have sent me some things that it's not Beth B, or,
Right.
Janet, but I
Janet.
don't know if
Right.
somehow it maybe was one of Janet's friends or,
Mhm.
I don't know Janet having moved her across the country, but as far as I know, it's not
Mhm.
Janet's, but then again, I could have gotten bad information. I don't.
Well, I think it's very possible that, Janet had a friend and said, "Hey, I got this friend moving up from or down from Utah, and she doesn't have a place to go. You've got an open rental." I mean, it could be some sort of connection that way. But I think, her continued shenanigans may put her residents at risk.
Yeah.
Um,
And who
you know,
knows if Janet, if she was paying for any of
yeah,
that rent.
yeah. We don't know, and so there's a lot of things we're not sure of. Yes, could very well be that Janet was helping Tricia with rent. Could very well be that she was helping her with other expenses. And people don't like to see the goose that lays the golden egg suddenly disappear, and
Mhm.
it makes them, whether it's John and Lauren Matthias panicking because people suddenly were unsubscribing to their channel, or whether it's Tricia, suddenly one of her benefactors is not around to write the checks. Um, Money makes people panic.
Yeah, and I mean, Trisha even used that example against Linda, saying she said her attorney told, because she's making up these, like, the guy coming to her door might be there for nefarious reasons to get her. She puts that gentleman's photo out and puts all these crimes on him, yet she knows nothing of
Yeah,
what he's doing.
yeah,
And then she says that her attorney said, well, you got to be careful because when you take 10 grand a month, which she's saying that is what Linda is getting, and moving money around, or that she moved money around, she's getting 10 grand a month, that people will be upset about that. So Trisha has used that as an opportunity to basically tell her audience that she is protecting herself and she's got blackout curtains, Lori, because that and she sleeps with her Smith and Wesson. Like, these are things Trisha herself has
I
said. It's
know,
like,
I know. So, lawyers are only as good as the information that is given to them by their clients. And so Trisha's lawyer may not have all the information they need to make wise decisions. Um, and that's on them for not doing their homework. But you certainly could see a scenario where it's not that Linda is suddenly paying herself $10,000 a month. It is that that Janet's estate is no longer paying Tricia $10,000 a month, and that may very well be why. I mean, Tricia could twist that and say,
yes.
well, she was supporting me to the tune of 10 grand a month, which means that if I'm not getting it, Linda must be getting it. And it may very well be that Linda's not getting anything. She's just not paying out of the estate what she was paying out before.
Yeah, Dreamfeed Media says James Robert Burke's house is still in his own name, much like Janet's, but he might be alive. Oh.
I the documentation, the things that Linda filed with the court, um, say that James Burke is not alive.
Yeah.
It's not super unusual for, particularly if it's in the family, for someone to leave, say, a piece of real property in the decedent's name. So, for example, um, my dad passed away in 2017. My mother is still living. The property that they lived in was in his name because he was a veteran and had a veterans home loan. So the
Mhm.
house is still in his name. I still get
Okay.
letters, do you want to sell your property? Addressed to him because people don't realize that he's deceased.
Mhm.
Um, so, that happens sometimes. So James Burke could very well be deceased. That's what the court documents from Linda say, that that neither one of the beneficiaries of the 2011 will are still living. So the only place it could go would be the animal shelter.
Now, I think Trisha's going to claim, or it sounds like she's claiming, that since this will has come about, that the money hasn't yet went to the, I feel like that's the direction she's going to.
Well, it couldn't, because they haven't determined an administrator yet.
There you go. That's true. It would be tied up.
The estate is still contested at this point.
Yeah.
So neither one of them, no matter who it is, whether it's Tricia or whether it's Linda, has the power to disperse the estate's assets.
And if anything, Trisha's just holding up the animal shelter from getting the money. So because she went live to be like, oh no, once we found out it was the, you know, you saw where she was like, oh no, that's the Hollywood ending. But you could tell us all of that, but you couldn't tell us that. Give me a break. Right. And she keeps saying there's all these things I can't tell you. You've already told us way too much. I don't believe she has anything else that could.
Well, I don't believe it either.
Yeah.
She believed, when she filed the initial documents, that Janet had died without a will, and that there was nobody else to step in, and so she was going to step in and be the administrator.
Yep.
Well, then Linda stepped forward and said, hang on, I got a will here.
Trisha was mad because she was hoping there wasn't.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Janet's will was from 2011. So it probably predates Tricia, and Tricia assumed, because Janet had never talked to her about it, and they were such good friends, that there must not have been a will. And that wasn't the case at all.
Nope.
So now Linda shows up and says, oh, hello, here's the will. That muddies the water.
Yes.
And, it's even muddier because it doesn't matter that Janet sent Tricia text messages and said, I want you to have my Lexus. Doesn't matter.
Trisha, you don't deserve a Lexus, girl. She needs to stop. It went to the church people, or a church person or something, or one of the cars did. And it's crazy. Her and Stacy are literally saying that they have, they make it sound as though they have this proof, that that Linda didn't do Janet's wishes, and that they have proof, and there was a deleted document, and there's no way that Janet could have signed, because Trisha was with her the whole time, even though Trisha's own admission said she was there Thursday and then went home, and then she was deceased Friday. And, Janet had checked into the hospital on the 12th of May. So there were days where Trisha wasn't there. So it doesn't add up. But they're saying that there was this document that was deleted, and they found it, obviously through the phone and through the her having passwords and stuff to her emails and accounts. But then in the next breath, they say, well, it might have been the new will that she was supposed to put through, that Janet thought she was putting through, but we don't know. It's like, you idiots. It might have, or it was. It's either it was or it wasn't. There's no might have. It's kind of like when she says Janet was kind of in a coma. Well, what the hell is kind of in a coma, Trisha? Like, you're not smart enough to pull this one off, Trisha.
So, over 30 years of practice, there have been times, I didn't do a lot of wills and estates work, but there have been times that I have gone to the hospital and had someone sign a will because they were imminently going to die. And there is a process and sort of mechanisms for doing that. Hospital usually has a notary, and there are ways to get that done. But I don't think there's any indication of that. The one thing I don't know is whether or not Janet had power of attorney outside the will. So oftentimes, in addition to her medical power of attorney or her healthcare trustee documents. Oftentimes, when someone creates a will, they also create a durable power of attorney that gives a person, a trusted person, the right to act on their behalf if they're incapacitated. So sometimes people, I mean, Janet seems that she was a careful, kind of planful person. She had a will, she had a advance directive for healthcare. It's possible that she also had a power of attorney that allowed Linda to act on her behalf if she was incapacitated. So in that period of time where she was potentially in a coma, Linda, if she had power of attorney, could have done some things on her behalf. We don't know.
We don't know.
You know, there's a lot of unknowns. I mean, you know, that's typical for Tricia. Well, we don't know. You know? Lots of speculation followed by we don't know.
Exactly.
And you know, that's kind of what I'm doing as well. But I mean, those possibilities are out there. So
but at least you're doing it from an educated standpoint. She doesn't know shit, Lori.
They're not going to know until there's a hearing and a judge looks at all the evidence. And it seems to me, with what we know so far and what I've seen in the court documents that have been filed, I think Tricia's going to be shit out of luck. I mean, you know, it doesn't amount to a hill of beans for producing text messages that say, look, Janet said she wanted me to have her car, or she wanted me to have her jewelry, or
you know, her brooches.
Janet told me she wanted me to have all those jackets with all the shoulder pads. You know, I mean, it's
the silk blouses.
That's right. It's not going to happen.
It's so
you know,
crazy.
It is crazy. And
it's sad and it's crazy.
It is crazy, and it would be laughable if it weren't so pathetic and so sad that this.
I know, I'm loving it. And when you said earlier spit and spooge, Lori, oh my God, my crush grew.
Oh yeah,
like, into the spit and spooge. I was like, yes, Lori.
I can't think of it as anything but spit and spooge.
You have to. Yeah, it's what it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it weren't so sad that this is a person who appears to be, from all evidence, a serial a person who serially takes advantage of old lonely people.
Yeah.
You know, it's sad.
It is.
You know, I mean, it always bothers me when you have people like JLR and people like Lauren who are like, you know, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to my Patreon, give me $5 a month. And you know that there's a large percentage of people out there who $5 a month is the difference between them getting their prescription or not. And they're dropping that $5 on in Lauren's pocket or
and they're saying
JLR's
they're doing
pocket.
Things they're not. Like JLR's out there. I'll find Nancy. No, you're not going to find Nancy because actually, if you think about it, JLR, your money stops when Nancy's found.
Yeah.
So I would argue you don't even want that if you want the money to come in. You know.
Right.
I mean that's a twisted way, but really that's the truth. And then you got to find another. Yeah.
Join my
to exploit.
my $10 a month Patreon book club that never reads a book. Yeah. So, I mean, those are the things that trouble me. Is these are people who cannot really afford to support these people, but they get taken in by them. Oh, she's so likable, or she's such a funny, bumbling little granny. And, you know, I feel sorry for her roof caved in and she lives in a cabin up in the woods. And, oh, you know, or her dog needs surgery. And, you know, I got an extra $5. It's okay. I can do without lunch tomorrow.
Oh, I know. And little do they know, it'll never be enough for these people. Lauren will never be able to build a big enough house. Trisha will never be able to not go to the casino. JLR will never be able to whatever the hell he does with himself. So, which I'm assuming is weird pornographic things, allegedly. This just comes to my head. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Now, speaking of the Lauren thing, I have to ask you, as someone who knew Lauren, unfortunately, I'm very sorry you had to know her.
Yeah.
But what do you think she thinks of all this? Because Helen and I had a conversation about how, Trisha, Melatonin, Megan, they all went so hard for
Right.
Lauren, thinking they were on the right side of history, meaning the
Right.
side that was going to get all the followers.
Yeah.
And now Lauren she hasn't said shit. What do you think she's thinking about this Trisha exposed situation?
Lauren will distance herself from anyone who either threatens to be more interesting than she is, or know more than she does, or reflect poorly on her. The instant that it looks dicey, she's out of there.
No
So
loyalty.
no, none at all. So first of all, I think that Lauren thinks that none of all of those complaints about grifting apply to her. She's that
that delusional.
yeah, I mean, not self-reflective. I mean, I
No.
won't say delusional, but she absolutely doesn't believe that any of those things apply to her. I mean, look at her family history. Look at the history of her father.
No.
Her father doesn't think the rules apply to him. I mean, the guy's still out there standing on the street corner with his briefcase claiming to be a lawyer. He's been disbarred in 2 frickin' states.
Did Lauren ever talk to you about that?
Only kind of in passing,
Mhm.
not in any depth. I mean, I knew that her father had been to prison for securities violations. But I mean, the very idea that he got out of prison and he turned around and he's doing the same thing again.
I know.
I mean, I find it shocking at this point that the feds haven't swooped back in and arrested him again, but that may very well be on the horizon. There's a civil RICO case that was filed against him, but there hasn't been a criminal case.
Wow.
But I mean, she does not believe that the rules apply to her.
Mhm.
And similarly, if someone says, "Oh, these YouTubers are grifting off people who they're taking advantage of," she would say, "Well, that's them, but I don't do that."
Yeah, she would. You're right.
She would never put herself in the same category with any of those people. She doesn't have the ability to see herself in a situation.
Yes.
She's just not that self-reflective.
No. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know the chicken. You can see that through her moves, her behavior, what she's shown online that's definitely how it is. What I've always wondered in regards to that situation is you were on her channel, giving her essentially great content, free legal advice that is, I mean, that's a lot of education, that you would normally charge. And she did, it seemed like she went out of her way to sabotage your channel, not support you.
Right.
And when did when was that clear to you that she was never going to support you? Because I'll tell you, I mean, I'm so grateful for you, what you've provided today, Lori, like taking the time to explain this and the amount of times you collaborated with her. And did she ever do anything for you?
No. Every Friday for almost a year. So now I will say this. I was early into figuring out how to get a book published, right? The way this started, I retired from practice. I have a master's in creative writing, and I thought, okay, I'm going to retire and write. Always been a writer, undergrad degree in journalism. So
me too, Lori. Me too.
Yeah.
And a minor in creative writing.
Yes. See?
But not a master's.
So actually what happened was my kid went to college and I didn't know what the hell to do with myself. And it wasn't enough to be practicing law, a gazillion hours a week. So I went back and got an MFA.
God, right? You're amazing.
Yeah.
That's why you're my girl crush. You're amazing.
So I was bored. So when I was done practicing and I thought, okay, now next chapter, I'm going to I'm going to write. Well, then I had to figure out, well, how does one get a book published? So I did a bunch of research and I wrote a book proposal and I found an agent who was willing to take a chance on me. But one of the things publishers want to see when you're trying to convince a publisher to buy your book is they want to see that you're, especially if you're writing nonfiction, they want to see that you're an expert on something or that you have street cred, right? So one of the things that's important to a publisher is that you have an online presence, a platform. So it worked out great. This is how it started out. I was living in the Phoenix area. Lori Vallow's case happened in Gilbert and Chandler, which are suburbs of Phoenix. And so it was kind of on my radar. And I got involved in a couple of Facebook groups that were following the case. And people kept posting questions about things like bail and extradition and, So I would get on there and I would answer the question. But every time I answered the question, I had to go into why I was an expert, why I knew what I was talking about, right? I got tired of that. So I thought, well, I'll just start this little online blog newsletter about the legal issues in the case. If anybody's interested, they can look at that. So I went to the Facebook groups and I said, is it okay if you tell everybody that I'm going to do this thing? And they said, oh, yeah, we'll publicize it in the Facebook groups. I mean, I thought I had hit a home run when I had 200 subscribers. Right?
Hell yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So from that, Lauren found me. Okay.
Oh.
So she found the newsletter and she reached out to me. Now, during COVID, when John couldn't get into the prisons to do his forensic evaluations.
Yeah, what does he do exactly?
So he was doing forensic evaluations. He was doing risk assessments and those sorts of things for people who were in the prisons.
Yeah.
And so the prisons all shut down. He couldn't get in to do his job. So he was out of work. So they decided that they were going to do this podcast. And they did a series of podcast episodes. They were scripted. They were well-researched. They were good. They were, if you go back and look at those old podcasts, they were really good. So she reached out to me and said, we'd like to have you on the podcast. Well, that was about the time YouTube was kind of blowing up. True crime on YouTube was kind of blowing up with everybody being in lockdown and looking for content.
My subs went up during that time.
Right.
Sure.
So she said, look, I figured out that we can funnel listeners to the podcast if we do these lives on YouTube about the Vallow case. And so she said, and by this time we'd gotten friendly. We were, texting back and forth a couple, 3 times a week, talking on the phone. And she said, look, John is not super comfortable with this whole live thing. Would you be willing to come on and talk about the case with me? And I said, yeah, sure. I talk in front of people for a living. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, I'm a lawyer. I can do this.
Hello. So I think we did 1, maybe 2, where we did her and John and I together. And then the rest of them were all Lauren and me. And so she would reach out to me and she'd say, hey, you want to come on Friday? And then it just got to be sort of matter of course that we would do this thing on Friday. And to be honest, it was helpful for me because I was trying to build an online presence and a platform to show my publisher that people were interested in what I had to say. And it was okay with me. Not too far into it. And she said, do you want me to share the ad revenue with you? And I said, no. One of the reasons was she had confided to me that with John not being able to work, money was very tight for them. She wasn't working. So they were kind of hanging all their hopes and dreams on YouTube and the podcast. And I said, look, my husband and I are both retired. We don't really need it. No. So the entire time I was on her show, I declined to share any of the revenue. I have no idea whether it was a little or a lot. Don't know. Didn't care. So as we got into the validity case, there were some things from the legal standpoint to me that were very suspicious. Rexburg, Idaho is a very inbred, incestuous sort of community. Socially incestuous, not the real deal.
Oh, God.
Okay. But 96% of the population within the city limits are members of the LDS Church. There are 3 LDS wards in Rexburg. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody's business. And certainly people who are within the public sector, the community, the government, all know one another. So I got wind from somebody that there was a questionable relationship between the prosecutor, who was the bishop of one of the wards at the LDS wards, between him and some of the other people who were city employees. And that at one point there had been a Facebook group of city employees that they thought was private, and it wasn't. And they were in there. One of the judges, not the judge that presided over the case, one of the judges, the prosecutor, a bunch of the local cops, the sheriff, were all involved in talking about the case, commenting on the evidence, commenting on the guilt of the parties, all in this public Facebook group. Well, when they realized that it was out there, they took it down, but not before this person had screenshots and had documented it all. Well, this person was very concerned about whether or not it was going to impact whether the people could get a fair trial, whether it could undermine the case. So this person sent all of the information to both the prosecutor and the defense. And the defense filed motions to disqualify the prosecution and a lot of the people who were on the case, a lot of the law enforcement people. And the judge very promptly sealed all those documents.
Wow.
And so I thought, this looks weird.
Yeah.
So I did all the research and discovered that, in fact, the judge had illegally sealed all that information, that it was beyond his authority to seal them, that they should have been public. So I'm a lawyer. I know how to file documents. So
Yeah.
I filed motions to unseal all those documents. And the judge was absolutely furious because
I'm
not only
sure.
was I a woman, but I was from an outsider. And that's how I got sideways with the validity judge on day one.
Oh.
So I filed all the documents. Well, the judge and the prosecutor closed ranks and they managed to keep all those documents sealed. I've not given up on getting those documents yet.
Good for you, Lori. Yes.
But of course, that made me, public enemy number one when it came to anybody involved in the case. And Lauren then said to me, we don't want anyone to think that we were involved in filing those things. And so I went on her show the next week and I said, look, this has nothing to do with Lauren and John. This is all me. I'm a lawyer. I know how to do this. I think what they've done is wrong. I'm going to continue to pursue this. but it doesn't have anything to do with Lauren and John. So she used that sort of as the excuse because suddenly I was getting a bunch of attention. Another guy,
Oh,
another guy who had a big YouTube following, who's a lawyer, called me and said, I want you on my show. He read all the documents. He was telling all his people what a hero I was for
is it the
having
handsome one?
filed it all. Oh, no.
The lawyer,
Peter
you know?
Traeger, no,
Yeah,
no,
no.
it wasn't.
Then
Yeah,
no, just kidding.
no, but I mean, it was a big deal. He was, really crowing and saying, "Man, you're the one," and
Oh,
everybody,
that piss her
and
off. She's so competitive.
it did. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it did. So suddenly she decided that they wanted to distance themselves from me because I had done that. And, that was the point at which I said, look, it's your show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that, so, I mean,
Yeah, I'll take all this free knowledge
uh,
and stuff, legal stuff I'm bringing. I'll take
yeah,
that.
it wasn't
Right.
even really that. It was sort of like, I never thought YouTube was going to be the end all and be all for me. I'm writing a book and,
Yeah.
YouTube was just sort of a fun, a little distraction, a little side road. Um, and it served its purpose for me. I got what I needed out of it. She got who she needed. I was like, fine, if you don't want me on your show anymore, I'm good. It's your show. You're in charge. So 2 or 3 weeks went by. I had a conversation with my agent who said, I'd really like to see you keep doing this stuff. And I thought, well, what's the quickest way I could do that? I'd resisted going out on my own, having my own YouTube channel because I didn't want the learning curve. I'm old, and trying to figure out how to set up a YouTube channel and
Oh, tell me about it.
StreamYard and all, I didn't really want to learn all that stuff. And I was in the middle of writing a book.
Yeah.
But my agent sort of nudged me and I thought, well, I could start something and maybe it would be enough. I mean, if I had 200 viewers, then it'd be all right.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I did was I texted Lauren. I reached out to her and I said, look, I'm thinking about doing this. My coming on your show was always really popular. And I would very happily start an hour before you guys and let people just roll right over into you.
Mm-hmm.
So I do the legal stuff and then people could just pop right over to you.
Yeah.
I think that was even before you could redirect people. I don't know.
Yeah, the raids or whatever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So she answered and she was so effusive. She was like, oh, that's the greatest idea in the world. I can't believe it. We'll support you. We'll promote you. How exciting that's going to be. Yada, yada. So I set up my channel and I started out in October of that year. I mean, it had been like 3 or 4 weeks since I'd been online. And I announced it in the Facebook groups that I was going to be doing it. And what I heard from her was crickets. I gave her all the information, said, here's what I'm going to do. Nothing. We'll promote you. She kept saying, we'll promote you, but never once. So I just kind of ignored it, right? I just sort of did my thing. Then she started, it was always my intention that I would start and finish in an hour and people would be able to go into her show.
Mm-hmm.
Then she started scheduling a half hour early, moving her start time up a half hour early, moving her start time up an hour early. And it was very clear that it was really intentional. Well, there was a group of people, and now I understand that they were her flying monkeys, but at the time I was so new to this, I was clueless.
Yeah.
Who started sending me chatting in my chats. How come you're scheduling over the top of Lauren? How come Lauren was so good to you? And why are you trying to take it over? And why are you trying to schedule over her? And so after about 3 weeks of that, I posted on my community page exactly what I've told you.
Yeah.
I tried to be respectful. I tried to take it
You
into
reach out.
account. I reached out. I did all these things. And it is not me who is scheduling over the top of her. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
It's the only time in all of those years that I ever said anything about Lauren and John. Only time. So after that, I just ignored it. And it kept happening. And finally, I moved to another day, right? I moved off Fridays and went to Wednesdays. That was fine. Every once in a while, she would suddenly do a pop-up surprise live over the top of me, but
She's
at
the
least it
worst.
wasn't happening every day.
Yeah.
That was the only time. From then on, anytime that someone would ask me, how come you're not on Lauren's show anymore? We miss you. Or, what happened with you and Lauren? I would say, ask Lauren. It's not my story to tell. You ask Lauren. Never said a word about it. And it wasn't until the whole Christina thing happened that I finally had enough, that her misusing, I spent 30 years doing criminal and family law. I represented people in hundreds of restraining order hearings. When I first started practicing, I worked as a volunteer lawyer representing people in restraining orders to get trial experience.
Wow.
I used to do 3, 4, 5 a week.
Wow.
So I understand what it takes to get a restraining order and a stalking order. I've been there, done that. So when Christina reached out to me about 2 weeks before CrimeCon. I didn't know who she was, never seen the TikToks. And she reached out to me and said, hey, I understand Lauren shit on you too. And I said, yeah, she did. And so we got on the phone, we talked once, and I said, hey, you really want to make Lauren nervous. You and I need to get together in the main bar and have a drink together, because
I
if
love
she
it.
sees us together, she's going to shit herself. That's true. I said that. And so the first night of CrimeCon, Christina texts me and says, hey, I'm in the bar. So I go down. Now, Christina's LDS. She doesn't drink.
Mhm.
I went down to the bar. She bought me a drink. We sat there for about 30 or 40 minutes and chatted, people walking by everywhere. And I said, hey, it was really great to meet you. And I went to my room and she left. I have no idea what happened at that point. Apparently, at that point, other people came into the bar and there was this whole, well, actually, that was Friday night. So Thursday night when I got there, I met Christina. The next morning, she texted me and she said, I just got served this. And it was the restraining order, the stalking order. And I said, look, I can't give you any legal advice. I'm retired, but man, you need to get yourself a lawyer. You need to file it and contest this.
Yeah.
So the next thing that happens is, okay, the whole thing at CrimeCon happens. I'm sort of on the fringes of it. I was there the night the police came in the bar and told Christina she had to leave, but that was really about all. And I was sitting next to Angelique Levy.
Oh, from yeah.
From Law
14 or
and
whatever. Long
Law and
Crime.
Crime. Yeah. And Jeanette Levy. And when the police came in, she said, what's that all about? And I said, well, Lauren got a stalking order against this woman. I don't know what the hell was going on. It's pretty weird to me. And so then Jeanette Levy was all really interested in it. And that's how Law and Crime decided that they wanted to cover her.
Oh, and Law and Crime, Lori.
Law and Crime. So I left CrimeCon, but I was mad. I was mad about what happened at CrimeCon. I was mad about Lauren doing all this stuff. So on Wednesday, when I got back, I went on my live and used my bully platform and
It
said,
was epic.
this is bullshit. And Lauren then immediately filed with the court in Utah a motion wanting to violate Christina, saying that Christina had violated the restraining order because she put me up to had put me up to that. Now, I'm here to tell you nobody puts me up to anything, but
No.
so suddenly I got called as a witness
Oh my God.
in the restraining order hearing. So then Lauren is like beside herself because I'm on the witness list.
That's when she realized she fucked up.
But, I was on the witness list because of her.
Yeah.
Because she was claiming that Christina had somehow put me up to this. It was just so
Isn't
stinking
it crazy
bizarre.
that when it's someone like Lauren would put someone up to that. So it's all this projection with her and Trisha. It's what they would do, but something Lori.hellis wouldn't do, something Christina wouldn't do. It's what they would do, because that's what came out through all these texts and group chats, is that Lauren is so devious behind the scenes. And she's got alts and manipulative and just gross.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Lori.
Yeah. So it's always with Lauren about the front facing face, right?
Yep.
The camera facing face. What's going on behind it bears no resemblance to that camera facing face.
No.
No. And it's sad.
It is sad.
But I look at it and say, she was raised that way.
Yeah.
She was raised in a culture. I think the LDS church has an element, and I don't want to insult anybody who is LDS. I lived in Mesa, Arizona, in a gated community where about 80% of the people there were members of the church. They were the nicest, most lovely people in the world. I once lived in Hawaii for a year in the community where the Polynesian Cultural Center is, which they own. Members of the church make great neighbors, but they do have a sense that they are set apart and that the rules do not apply to them. There is that sense that we're this insular community and that the rules for everybody else don't necessarily apply to us. And there are people within that faith who take that to the extreme, like Lauren's father.
Mm-hmm.
And when you live in that little bubble, that's the way your thinking is. And I believe that Lauren feels the rules do not apply to her.
Yeah.
That she is somehow exceptional enough that they don't apply. Whether it's her going to the police and saying, I want you to enforce my restraining order, and oh, by the way, all these people are trial tourists, but I'm a journalist, those sorts of things. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah. She feels like she's exceptional. The rules don't apply to her. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why she would never see herself in the same category with Trisha or JLR or any of those people who are grifting, because she would not, the rules don't apply to her.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And she seems to carry herself like that, even in more ways than one, even on a level of, I am, especially with people like Trisha or Megan, like I'm so above them. Yeah. I'm so much better than them. It's almost like she would be, she's going down. I always say she uses Trisha's channel like just a place where she can go be intoxicated and be the star and get glazed and complimented. She doesn't show it the same respect she shows her own channel. So that tells you everything you need to know about how she feels about Trisha. And, has she ever even been on Melatonin Megan's channel?
I don't know. I don't watch Melatonin Megan except when somebody's roasting her.
Yeah, just me. Sorry, Megan. Yeah, I don't like, she's so boring. It's like, I get exhausted. I have to take like a 2-day break after roasting her because I have to bring so much energy to that. I'm like, am I in a coma through part of it, Lori? I don't know. It's like, oh, this woman is so boring. She's
you put her on 1.5 and you're still falling asleep. I know.
Put her on 2 before. Like, I'm just like, oh my God. But she's another one who feels like she's above, even though she has no qualifications and the entitlement to tell people how to live, to judge people. It's like, who are you?
Yeah.
You're nobody.
Mm-mm.
And you need to like have some, but like you said, they lack the ability to have self-awareness.
You're Lori Vallow's cousin.
Yeah. And that's what you got. Your
Yeah.
online, the case is over. And did you happen to see me roast her when she showed her finances about, oh my God.
Yes, I did.
She really thought she was going to be the most famous, like 55-year-old YouTuber.
Who quits their day job after 2 months on YouTube? Really?
Lori? You know how many years it took me to go full time into comedy and content creation? Like I worked corporate job, then I would do my lives at night,
right?
And I would do my comedy shows at night and grind away because I'm like, I got benefits. I got like, I'm an adult.
Sure.
And I don't even have any kids. I just got fur babies. And still I was like, I can't put me and my husband at a disadvantage. I have to be responsible, but not Megan. Megan went all in thinking, and not even the like the self-awareness to see that once your cousin's case is over, so are you.
Yeah.
That's what you're here for. You haven't established to be worth anything more than that.
Right.
On your channel or to other creators such as Lauren.
Right.
So, which we saw in her text messages.
Yeah.
I do have to ask you, the Dr. John interruption, when you first saw him talking about that, were you like, what the fuck is he talking about? Or did you know right away?
Nope. Had no clue. Still have no clue to this day what in the hell he's talking about.
This is why I love you, Lori, because this is the kind of woman I like to think I am, but I love bothering problematic baby men. Ugh, it's like, it gets me high. I feel like you are able to do that, whether you like doing it or not. They are very intimidated by you. Someone like John couldn't handle a Lori.hellis. He's got to be able to look down at Lauren as she's, 4 hard seltzers to the wind, allegedly, and be able to go, on the hits from my book. Where Lori.hellis, you're not going to tell you. Like, come on.
It's very, I will say that it was very evident in my interactions with them that he doesn't believe that she is his intellectual equal, and she doesn't either.
Yeah, you can see that in their dynamic.
Right. Yeah. But so I think it probably was inevitable. Although I always enjoyed conversing with John, and I always,
That's the thing. You just being you, Lori, bothers him. He's that fragile. He's that pathetic.
Yeah.
Like you were like, oh, I thought we had good conversations. He's like, no, deep down, I hate it. Like, what a weirdo.
Yeah. So I, to this day, have absolutely no idea. And there's no way to find out because as soon as she was done with me, she went out and deleted everything I'd ever been in on her channel.
There's not even one thing with you?
Nope. I think the guy that Hella calls Mr. Breakfast, I think he found some things through like the Wayback Machine or something, but there's nothing.
Oh
no.
My God.
Every Friday for a year, and she went back and deleted them all. Yeah.
That's a sickness.
Now, you got to wonder, is that cutting off your nose to spite your face?
Yeah.
I mean, people, I would think we're still occasionally looking at those old.
Hell yeah.
Because they had to do with the Vallow case, so the people were like, oh, I wonder about this or that happened.
And
they
through the
go back and look
years,
at them.
With those court cases, people might in a year just stumble upon it because I didn't watch it in real time. So you would seek out that kind of content. So you're always going to get new views on it.
Yeah.
But that just shows the type of person she is and how insecure she really is and how this competition she has with people who are not in competition with her.
Yeah. I mean, I never felt like I was.
No, why would you?
In competition. I mean, I thought we were doing something together and it was a collaboration, and no, I had no idea.
So you have no idea what John's talking about, but this totally rocked his world.
And like I say, I only remember being on a live with him maybe twice, maybe 3 times. Because one of the reasons I came on to begin with was because he was so uncomfortable doing anything that wasn't scripted.
He's such a pee pants baby. Like, I can't with that
I
man.
mean, he's not a spontaneous person. He did not like talking off the cuff. I mean, he wanted everything. He was super comfortable with the format they'd had for the podcast, which was very scripted.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe I want to say twice that I'm sure of, and maybe yeah, exactly.
So Lori exists. HTC deletes 50 videos.
I want to say 2 that I'm sure of, and maybe a 3rd where John was actually on the screen with Lauren and I. So somehow in those 3 videos, I insulted his manhood.
The best part is, or yes, his lack thereof, is that you don't even, it's so like not even a part of, it doesn't affect
wasn't
you,
on my
you don't
radar.
even know. But this guy is like, and I was gonna, and oh, my favorite part is when he goes, I was gonna say one of the best points of my life or whatever. Like, it's like, bro, calm your boner. Nobody, you've never made a good point. Be quiet. Go read a book. Why Lauren even subjects him to this stuff, seeing what we see now, is like, they must be desperate because.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, I mean, this is a format. You have 3 different talking heads on a screen. You're going to interrupt each other. You are.
Yes. Of course you are. It's conversation. And knowing him, he takes those long, because like you said, he can't do improv. He's not spontaneous at all. He can't think on his feet. He needs to have 18 books and go, well, page 150. And you're like, oh, come on, John, we're bored, So I'm sure you, as a lawyer, as someone who can professionally speak and, it is like, well, let me just fill this little time, this little dead air. I'm help. You maybe even thought, even though you don't remember, you maybe even thought you were helping him. You're helping the situation.
Maybe.
But he is so, and oh God, I couldn't imagine my husband behaving that way.
But the first time I saw that, and somebody sent me the clip, and I mean, I was just bursting out laughing. I was dying, and people were like, oh my God, are you insulted? And I was just howling, thinking, damn, Lori, you just need to.
I think that's when it solidified that I was in love with you, Lori. I was like, oh my God, this is like everything I want to be, and all the effects I want to have on men like John.
Yeah.
And the fact, knowing now that you don't even remember it, it was no clue. Just makes it even more beautiful. And I immediately took that clip and played it over and over and over and over again, because it was so wonderful.
Yeah, and every time I'd hear it, I would just burst out laughing. Like, oh, God, John.
You're such a loser, John.
It's really interesting. Lauren would go to all these things. I mean, the first time I went to CrimeCon, I went with her, and it was in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
The very first CrimeCon I went to was with her, and it was in Las Vegas. And John showed up. Now, and it was kind of a big deal because Kay and Larry Woodcock were there, and they were being interviewed on, in a breakout session. And so it was kind of a big deal. They'd done that whole Kay and Larry around their dining room table thing and all of that. And so
oh yeah,
and John showed up, and he was there for about, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, and poof, he was gone. Oh, get this, you'll love this. So that day, John and Lauren show up because they live in one of the suburbs of Las Vegas. Okay.
Oh yeah, I almost became their neighbor. Yeah, I found out because she said that where she lived, and me and my husband, we were going to build a home there during the pandemic, and then we had to pull out, and I'm like, oh my God, we could have been neighbors.
Yeah. So they show up together in a car, right? In their car. She's there because she's there rubbing elbows and, doing her networking and, and so not only does John not like spontaneous things, but he doesn't like people. He does not. CrimeCon is like way too people-y for him. Okay. So he's there for about 20 minutes and suddenly he's like, I got to get out of here. So he leaves. Now, I was living over in the Phoenix area. So I drove over to Vegas.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. It's like 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever. So I drove to Vegas. So I had a car. So we were staying at one of the downtown Las Vegas hotels, the hotel that the convention was in. And so we're there. CrimeCon has this creator area, and it gets bigger every year, right? And it was Creators Row one year, and now it's like the exposition. There are people selling books and people talking about missing relatives and creators doing podcasts, and it's really the sort of the hub of CrimeCon. So she's there doing all her schmoozing with everybody, and trying to get in good with Shane Bishop because he's the producer for 48 Hours. He's Keith Morrison's producer, right?
Oh,
So John, I mean, he's there very short time, and he's like, "No, two people, I need to leave." So he leaves. Well, they only have one car, right? And at this point, they're on a very tight budget. So we're all standing around, and she says, "Oh, I'm going to have to get an Uber because John already went home." I handed the woman my car keys and said, "Take my car."
Oh.
Oh, go ahead, take my car. That's the kind of friends I thought we were.
Yeah.
Right?
But like so not reciprocal.
Yeah. No.
She would have probably went through your. Now, did she take your car?
Yeah.
She probably went through your glove compartment and stuff. I can only imagine. Looking for stuff.
I'm old. It's not like I keep condoms in my glove compartment,
Hey, you could,
I'm old and married,
Yeah. No condoms. Oh my God.
But, I mean, it never even dawned on me that she wasn't my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sad
was,
that,
here.
Yeah, that you were
Toss her the car
so
keys.
open and
here's the
a friend
pass
her.
to get in and out of the parking area for the hotel. Yeah.
Here you go, you broke bitch. My words, Lori, my words. But really, like, here you go. Oh God. It's those two. And the fact that he just left.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He couldn't come back and pick her up?
No. And the interesting thing is they have a son. We heard all about how she was, not going to put her little boy in that position, yada yada. I'm going to say this, and people may not like it, but I felt sorriest for that little boy because in my experience with them, it was sort of like a game of hot potato. Like, nope, it's your turn. Nope, your turn. Yeah. I can't take care of him. It was just constantly this like little boy was like hot potato.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a good sign that she literally weaponized her little boy to push forth this fake civil stalking and
whole narrative of,
very Tricia coded of, putting people out there and then saying you're hurting them. It's like, no, you're hurting him. Right. Nobody knew about this little boy.
Right.
Why would you include an 8-year-old in some YouTube, TikTok? Like, what are you doing with your life?
So I practiced law in a fairly small community in Central Oregon. When I moved into the community, there was a population of about 39,000. It's now 120,000 because it's a lovely resort town and everybody wants to live here. But I was, I mean, when I first was practicing, we had 7 judges. All the lawyers knew one another. You know, it was a pretty small town. And I met the woman who was the courthouse reporter for our local paper. And she and I got to know one another. And I said, look, I need you to do me a favor. I have a kid who goes to school here. And it's really important to me that my kid not have other kids walk up to her and say, oh, your mom's defending the baby raper, or your mom is defending the, you know, the bad people. So I would really appreciate it if you don't put my name in the paper unless you talk to me first. And we had that deal all the time that she was there.
Wow.
Um, so, you know, I never wanted to put my kid in that position in a community where a lot of people knew each other.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't want to go to PTA meetings and be the subject of conversation.
Yes.
So, you know, I think that responsible parents who have higher profile jobs are more likely to keep their kids out of the limelight and out of, you know, keep them from being in the limelight.
Yeah.
Um,
You're going to protect them.
so it was disturbing to me that she was willing to use her child as sort of almost like a shield. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it looked like. And that's why
Mhm.
when I roasted it, when I first went over, I just completely glossed over that. Cause I'm like, no, you want people. I know this play on YouTube from problematic
Right.
creators. So you
Yeah.
want people to talk about that. You want people to talk about him, but I'm not going to do that. You might not respect him or want to protect him, but I do. And
Right.
I think a lot of others do too, because he's a
Yeah.
little boy.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to, you used that. That's shitty. You have to live with that, but we're moving on.
Yeah.
Because that's, I
Yeah.
think it's not only so she could use it as a shield, but also, well, I guess, yeah, that would be part of the shield is then
Mhm.
hiding behind him. And if anyone comments, how dare they talk about her son?
Right. Right.
But
And then
again,
when she decided to drop the restraining order or the stalking order, um, so because she accused me, Christina, of having gotten me to say things Christina couldn't,
yes.
I got called as a witness in in that case. And I had a conversation with Christina's attorney, and he said, we're going to call you and you can appear by phone. So he got permission from the court for me to appear by phone. So when the hearing started, I was on the phone. So I heard everything that was going on in the courtroom. I heard them trying to get Christina and Lindsay and all those people thrown out because because Lauren didn't want them in the courtroom, and the judge saying no, this is a public courtroom. Oh, you didn't know about that?
No, I don't
Oh,
think so. Or maybe it's just like so much information that I just forgot.
so when the hearing started for the stalking order, Christina and her attorney were there, and Lauren's attorney came in, and he said, my client doesn't want to come in the courtroom because all these people are here. And they had come in from out of town to testify because
Yeah.
they were Christina's witnesses. And the judge said, this is a public hearing, they can be here. But Lauren refused to come in the courtroom because they were there until the judge said, you need to get your client in here. So I was listening. And so they convened the hearing, and the judge said, how many witnesses do you have? And Lauren's attorney said, oh, we've got all these witnesses. This hearing is going to take a whole day just for our witnesses. And so, yeah, right, Janice? Yeah, Janice was there. So the judge said, wait a minute, I only set aside half an hour for these because they don't take that long.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a whole day to devote to this. I have other things on my docket. So finally, the judge said, look, I will take the 2 witnesses that are from out of town. It doesn't matter to me because I was appearing by phone. So,
Yeah.
I could come back anytime. But there were a couple of witnesses that were there in person that had traveled to be there. So he said, I'm going to take that testimony. So he took testimony from Lindsay and I can't remember who else. Janice probably remembers. And it was very apparent from the testimony of those first 2 witnesses that what Lauren was trying to do was to shut down what was going on YouTube and on TikTok, and that it didn't have anything to do with her really being stalked. So after the 2 witnesses testified, the judge very clearly said, this seems to me like you are trying to use this stalking law to shut down First Amendment speech. And that is not what stalking laws are for. And he was really pointed about it. And then he said, well, we're going to have to postpone this for almost a month. And so there was a lot of wrangling back and forth about what the temporary order was going to say and whether or not Christina could be on TikTok. But he was very pointed in saying, this is not, yeah, right, Molly. This is not what stalking laws were intended to do. There are some very serious First Amendment questions here, and I am not going to curtail someone's First Amendment rights because you don't like what they're saying. And the judge was very clear, you're trying to shut down speech because you don't like it.
Exactly.
You don't like the content, what they're saying. And so he really sort of telegraphed to Lauren and her lawyer that they were going down in flames.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very clear from the judge's comments that they were not going to get what they wanted and that the judge was absolutely going to throw this restraining order or this stalking order out. And it was only a matter of when and not if they were going to go down in flames. And so it wasn't at all surprising to me that she dismissed the order the day of the next hearing. But it was surprising to me that she blamed it all on her little boy, that she wasn't going to put her son's mental health on public display. Well, there was no reason to put her son's mental health on public display to begin with.
Exactly.
There was no reason for her son to even know what was going on. He's 8, 9?
That's a failure in parenting.
Yeah.
Then if he knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Right. Big time.
And I feel comfortable saying that even not as a parent, as an auntie, I wouldn't subject. I'm like careful about now how much I subject, my niece and nephew when they come stay with me every summer. They want to be online more, but the more I've been online, the less I have them because I want to protect them.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, my daughter is 30 and her first phone was a little flip phone keyboard, one of those little cool, little bright purple with the keyboard that flipped out. She thought she was cooler than all hell. But, when I look now at what parents are having to contend with their kids online, I'm thinking, oh, grandchildren, how do I, when they come along, how am I going to deal with that?
That's like how my mom is right now. She's just like, oh my God, when they go to her house. And I'm like, just tell them they can't bring, well, I mean, that's easier said than done, their devices, over there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, it definitely, she used that as an excuse.
Oh, yeah.
And, but truthfully, Law and Crime said they were interested in a camera in the courtroom for whatever reason. I know whatever reason, because Anjanette Levy knew it was going on from CrimeCon.
Did you ever talk to Anjanette after that about this? Like, did she ever... I'm curious, did Law and Crime know that Lauren was putting all this on them? Were they ever aware of that? Do you know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So then when she dismissed it, she said it was all because of her little boy, but it wasn't really it. Law and Crime had asked to have a camera in the courtroom, and she knew she was going to go down in flames, and she didn't want anybody to witness it.
Yeah, because she could have easily, like we said, not have included her 8-year-old son.
Right.
Still went
Right.
on, and went through with this. And the like hypocrisy of her making a living off people's pain, and these trials being publicized and recorded, to then her thinking, going back to your point, that she's above that. That yes, I can profit off all of these people and build my compound that my husband will never leave because he's a weirdo. And, that's fine. But you can't show me. I'm Lauren. There are tiki-takis. There is a very attractive young woman named Christina with beautiful hair making tiki-takis, where she never names me or says anything defamatory. I'm scared. And that judge, the minute we heard that, I think the first time I heard it was J is for Justice posted the whole audio, and I was like, oh shit, that's why. Because he was on to you, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the judge definitely said, this is not the purpose of a stalking order. It is not the purpose of a stalking order to silence people who you don't like what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you make your living giving your opinion, using your First Amendment right. How do you not see how hypocritical you look? How ridiculous you look?
Yeah. Tone deaf.
Completely tone deaf with the
and law and crime.
Lori, oh my God, it amazes me that those two can show up to work and cover these cases after what they've done, and how they have no respect for the judicial system. They didn't hesitate to weaponize that, to misuse it, to lie. But
yeah, it's really interesting. I don't think we are seeing Lauren show up to a lot of these things that she used to. She definitely has curtailed her public appearances, and she went to Corey Richins, but it was a brief appearance, and it was
with her sweater.
And it was very interesting that, I mean, the only reason she went was because she'd gotten some sort of a gig with, I don't even remember who she was on with, one of the.
Oh yeah, it was
the documentary or
ABC maybe.
I think,
something. I watched it with my parents, and I was like, that lady hates me on the internet. My mom goes, oh, that's the one. And I said, how old do you think she is? And they were like, I don't know, 55. Like, I was like, Lauren would not like that. My parents were very.
No,
I was like,
not
she's
at all.
like my age, and they're like, no. And I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was because she had a friend who got her that little in, and I mean, it's certainly true. My experience with her was that she was looking for the big get. I mean, she wanted to be Ashley Banfield. She wanted to be on
You can tell.
on Law and Crime. She wanted to be, and every time one little thing would happen, like she was on the Dateline show, man, then she was just sure she was going to be able to leverage that into, and it hasn't
almost
happened
sad.
yet.
It's almost sad and pathetic because I lived in LA for years, and everyone
Sure.
wants to make it and that
Sure.
feeling. But there's a point where you have to, I really live and die by comparison as a thief of joy. And really, what's meant for you is meant for you, and it's your
That's
ride,
right.
and you create your own opportunities. Because
That's
otherwise,
right.
you'll be sick. You will turn into a Lauren. You will turn into
Agreed.
a Trisha. You will never be able to support anyone, have real relationships. I moved, and I was happier when I moved. I love LA, but the climbing, the fakeness, it just I can't do that. And so seeing how they move, I'm like, oh, it's so desperate.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of desperation never makes it. It really doesn't.
Yeah. There's more than one book about Lori and Chad out there. And but I felt like I brought my expertise to the story. I told the story the way I wanted to. And if that appeals to people, that's great. My book's not for everybody. And every other book is maybe not for everybody either.
But it shouldn't
I
be.
don't,
Like, that's how it all
yeah,
works. That's how
I don't,
entertainment in general, creative
absolutely.
projects. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But for Lauren, it definitely is always, she's got to be top of the pile. But I think that if you've watched any of the sort of people who've broken down and analyzed where she came from, and I think she always had a sense that she wasn't good enough, and
Yeah.
um, and that just leads to that.
Mhm.
I don't think she's ever in her life felt like she was enough.
And that's actually so sad.
It
And
is.
what she could gain, this is what always bothered me, what she could learn and gain from embracing and being all in these female friendships, like especially with you,
Yeah.
Lori Hellis, like she could learn so much. She could, there are, why be in competition? Like I said, that when you have a queen right in front of you, you learn from the queen, and the queen's willing to teach you, and you would rather shit on her and just be competitive. It doesn't make any sense. And all the things you were doing and having a book agent, having a publisher, that's obviously things Lauren would love. Any self-published author is lying if they say they don't want that. Being
Right.
someone who has previously tried to sell a book before, it's very difficult.
It's hard.
And everyone's dream to get the book agents, everyone's dream to have a publisher interested. It makes it a hell of a lot easier. Self-publishing is hard.
It is
And
hard.
you could end up like Megan, showing your expenses on the internet on a channel no one's watching, only to roast Lori. So, like, again, had these women just felt good about themselves, and had they, really been, for lack of a better term, girls, imagine how powerful they could be. We could all be. But you have these types that are just,
I came of age and into women's power at that point in history when Roe versus Wade had just passed, had just come about from the Supreme Court, and women were really, just really starting to come into their own, and women were. I didn't go to law school until I was in my 30s, so and I'd already done some of those things, and it's always felt important to me and like a responsibility to me to share that with other women and to build up other women, and to sort of give them the strong mama bear, let's get some steel in our spine talk. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen Secondhand Lions, the movie Secondhand Lions.
No.
It's this adorable kind of offbeat story. It has Michael Caine and Robert Duvall in it, and Robert Duvall gives the when you become a man speech, and I've always sort of thought, that I have a role to sort of give it's time to be a strong woman speech.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I think, I like to think at least that that I've been sort of a force for good when it comes to empowering women. That's why I kind of find it so distressing that there are still, in this day and age, women who are out there to undermine other women.
Those patriarchal pick-me's, I call them. Lori Hellis, they're doing us no favors.
No.
Like, I always say, this penis will always choose penis. So I don't understand why if you're the only woman in a group of men, you're doing something wrong. And if you want to be if you want to be that, you're also doing something wrong. You need to reevaluate what's going on.
If you are in a situation where you're having to beg men for power, that's a problem. We shouldn't have to ask for permission to be in the room, to be in the conversation.
And we should help by inviting each other into the room. Open the door, lead that next woman in. Don't step on her. Don't take out some of her lip filler to put in your lip filler, you know, like everyone, there's enough lip filler to go around, Hellis.
Right. Yeah. Stop carrying water for the patriarchy.
Yes. Thank you. We're supposed to tear it down. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how I was raised, but
Me too.
you know, so I am grateful that you exist, Lori Hellis, and I think you're wonderful and I have a girl crush, and I'm okay with saying that, you know. And
I have a
think
girl crush on you too, and I've
that's
had a
not-
blast being here with you.
I've had such a blast.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we didn't even get to the other thing that I wanted to talk about. Will you come back?
Of course.
Because that
what's
2014 lawsuit of
Oh yeah.
Trisha's. So I don't know if you've had time to look at that, but she's rewriting history on it.
A little bit. Yeah.
And so I would like to get your take of
Sure.
all of that and what she has, you know, because now did you see the video depositions? Dreadful Penny got the
Mhm.
video.
Yeah. I haven't seen I heard that she had them, but I haven't watched them.
Oh, I watched a little bit and I'm gonna
Yeah.
roast them over here. I just want everyone
Yay.
to go support Penny first because she put in all the
Absolutely.
work,
Yeah.
got it, you know,
Right.
and that's a very non-Lauren Matthias move. Like
Mhm.
she would take.
Yeah.
She would
Right.
definitely take. And I like
Right.
this little community of women because
too.
there's so many good, supportive creators who want to see each other rise,
Yeah.
you know, because it
That
only helps everybody.
that I think has been one of the things that I have found with the other LawTube creators. For the most part, they are very supportive of other lawyer creators. And,
Yeah.
you know, there's this sense that, you know, the rising tide raises all boats. And they've all been very generous. And, you know, I think that we have a responsibility to pay things forward. I'm definitely a believer in that saying that, you know, from those to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like I have been the beneficiary of a lot of really generous people, and I try and move that forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old pay it forward. We love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You know, and I know maybe a couple people before we end here, there might have been like a question or two. Are you open
Sure.
to
Oh,
a
sure.
question or two? Okay.
Sure.
Because I know we have some super chats and I saw some questions in here, but I just was like learning so much. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't want to
No.
stop. I was like, I don't want to interrupt Lori because I'm like, I need to know this stuff.
The only thing on my agenda at this point is to feed my pack.
Oh my gosh. And now how many kitties do you have?
I have two. I have Siamese. They're actually brothers from the same litter. So I have two purebred Siamese.
Oh
And
my
then we have
gosh.
3 dogs in the house. Yeah.
Oh, you
we
have 3 dogs. What kind
Yeah.
of dogs do you have? I have 3
So
dogs.
we have a
Twins.
standard Labradoodle and a
Oh,
mini
cute.
Labradoodle.
Oh.
And then we have my mom's little rescue part Chihuahua that lives with us and goes to visit him. Goes to visit
Aw.
her. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love
So
that.
I have
So you have 5 fur babies.
5 fur babies.
I have
yeah.
5 fur babies too, Lori.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is the universe bringing us together
I
with? This
don't
fur-
know.
Mabel says, why do you think, and thank you, Mabel, so much for the super chat, says, why do you think Trisha's so mad? I don't know if you know how mad she was about Dream Feed Media putting out that obituary.
It seems to me that she doesn't like anybody else speaking into the situation. You know, she doesn't want anybody else defining the parameters of this situation. So for her to put that out and to say, you know, this is this person's legacy, Trisha didn't get to write that narrative. And I don't think she likes that at all.
Yeah. I
She
think you're
wants to
right.
be,
It's like a loss of power.
she wants to be in control of the narrative. Yeah.
Because I thought
Yeah.
we were talking about this on my stream I did late last night of how basically in these field trips, she has provided an obituary for her friend. Even though she said her friend didn't want an obituary, but she showed pictures. She said when she
Yeah.
was born, how she died, how she lived her
Right.
life.
Yeah.
So that's an obituary, Trisha.
Right. Yeah.
But, you know, I think she knows that. She's just trying to, you know, manipulate the
Mhm.
system. Thank you, No Name. Here's one of my babies right here. I have those very good.
The-
Pretty boy, he's like a lab terrier mix rescue Chinny.
Yeah.
I can see you.
Is that your tripod?
No, my tripod is
Oh.
like my little Tijuana. We used to call him TJ Dave because he's a Tijuana rescue.
Yeah.
They found him on the side of the road in Tijuana, and his leg was all mangled. And then they had this wonderful organization that was able to amputate. And he doesn't know. He is our most physical, athletic dog. And we have the ongoing joke here of the grift is where you got to give money. We're looking for Dave's leg. We're looking for his leg. So,
well, I hope Dave finds it.
I know. He doesn't know it's missing,
Right.
But we do. So, okay, let's see. No name for you, dang. It says, will Trisha and her attorney eventually be liable for filing bad faith claim to Janet's estate?
Well, that is going to depend on the judge. The judge could say, I'm going to impose attorney fees and make Trisha pay attorney fees for what appears to be bad faith. The judge could do that sort of spontaneously. The other side could also claim that they went forward in bad faith and ask to pay attorney fees. And that would be a reasonable outcome. Because clearly Linda wouldn't have had the attorney fees she's had if Trisha weren't stirring up the pot. So,
exactly.
So I could see a judge saying, you didn't have any business sticking your nose in this, and you need to get out and pay attorney fees.
Oh, so. She's gonna be grifting hard. Get ready, Websleuths.
Oh yeah, she's gonna be. She's gonna be grifting to pay the attorney fees.
Yes, she is gonna be. Rainbow, I'm sorry, I should have. Now we know Lori's background, but I think this came early. Please, can Lori give a brief background? I know she wrote a book and interrupted Dr. John.
Dr. John. Watch out.
Put that in your
bio. I have a bachelor's degree in communications and journalism. A law degree, and practiced law for almost 30 years, mostly in a fairly small community, did criminal and family law. I actually was a prosecutor for a while, decided I was on the wrong side and bailed out pretty quickly out of that job. And for the last about 5 years of my practice, I did primarily juvenile work. So I worked with kids who'd gotten in trouble and kids who'd been removed from homes for abuse and neglect. So represented a lot of kids the last 5 years. Yeah.
So obviously you have that protective instinct when you see what Lauren's doing to her son.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because that's how, you spent much of your career protecting children. So
yeah. Yep.
Chickenhead, thank you. Chickenhead just says, love this. Soulshine, thank you for all you do from bringing laughter and exposing the people like Trisha, because that's what Greg said. That's what Greg said. We had this Greg, she talks about him a lot, Lori, this cousin with no frontal lobe. I kind of like him because he put out there that she likes to party.
No filter. Oh, that's obvious.
Yeah, seriously. You don't get to where Trisha's at. Like, you can't tell a drunk. I'm a recovering alcoholic. You can't look me in the eye and tell me there's not an issue going on there. Give me a break, lady.
No,
come on.
She was a party girl. No, no doubt.
Did you hear the story about how she has holes in her?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. It's too much. It's too much, you guys. Okay. Let's see. We have Rhinestone says, as a disabled person who advocated for the disabled community for years, along with other causes close to my heart, it's a pleasure to support channels like yours because you always help people. That is so nice of you to say.
Good.
Like a Rhinestone. Wow, girl. Hawkeyes, thank you. Thank you, Joleen and Miss Hellis. Chat too. Awesome information to all trying to understand Trisha, lunatic grifter. Trisha said that was her. I think Trisha said Olap had a video where she said Trisha was a nickname of hers or something.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Can I roll the clip? I was looking for the clip with John, but I don't have it in this. I'm sorry, I don't have it in this little feed. I didn't want to disrupt. But I mean, Lori's heard it a bunch.
Right.
I mean, I'm gonna save her from Dr. John. He would just ruin the vibes, Lisa Discovers says, surround yourself with sharper people. Yes, and allow them to sharpen you. A great rule to live by. You always have to be we're leery, just we're of the people that just surround themselves with people they think they're better than. And that's a Lauren. She does that for sure.
Yeah. It's no, I agree with that completely. And But I think also you need to be willing to walk in and say, I think I'm not the smartest person in this room.
Yes.
I think you have to be able to acknowledge that and to think, oh man, I could get a lot out of this experience, and I could learn a lot. You know, I've been accused of being an intellectual magpie, which I kind of take as a compliment, you know, that I'm like, oh, shiny, you know, because I think that when we lose our curiosity and we think, oh, I
Right?
know it all, then life isn't as fun.
What's left?
Yeah.
Really? That's just so depressing. Anda Cresha, do. Thank you. Cresha says, love
Hi,
always
Trisha.
wins. Thanks, ladies. Yay.
You're absolutely right.
It
Love
really
always wins.
does. Allegedly innocent. We were just talking
My
about you. You're doing a
goodness.
great job. I
You're
love
awesome.
her videos.
Yes.
And Dental Lori. We love Dental Lori.
Hi, Dental
You've
Lori.
met Dental. You know Dental Lori.
We've met. Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I just
Janice and Lori.
Janice
I've
is
met them.
awesome.
Yeah.
Janice is like goals. I want her to like train me.
Oh, I
always say that.
know. I
She
know.
is just,
She just looks so beautiful.
she does. And she's
Yeah.
she's hilarious too.
Yeah.
The cease and
Yeah.
desist. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't even say cease and desist anymore. I only say cease and desist. And
Right.
sometimes when I say it to people who don't, they're like, you don't get it.
Yeah. Sorry, it's an inside joke.
Right. Well, Lori, thank you so much.
Sure.
Days for Justice, thank you so much for being a member and say great live listening while
Jay.
gardening. Enjoy your gardening. Everyone, I'm going to drop the link again, and it's in the description. I want you to go sub up to Lori.hellis. She goes live every Wednesday. And
Wednesday, 6 Pacific.
6 Pacific.
Yeah.
So let's all just sub away. And where else can people find you, Lori, if they're like, God, we want to follow Lori?
I have a newsletter, but it hasn't been very active lately. I just sort of moved the archive over to Substack, so you can find some of the old stuff on Substack. I have to admit, I'm not a TikToker. I don't do a whole lot on social media other than, you know, follow my kid.
Yeah.
You know, there's always the book, but
yes, buy the book.
Yeah.
And that's available Amazon, everywhere.
Yeah. All the
everywhere you
usual
find
outlets.
books.
Yeah.
All the usual. I'll put a link too in the
thanks.
description so you can click right there and get Lori's book. And yeah, thank you so much.
And if you have the book and you like a signed book plate, just drop me an email and I will send you one. So,
oh, hell yeah. What's your email? I have your email. What am I talking about? Your email. Oh my God, Lori, what is going on with my brain? I will. Is it okay if I put your email in the description?
Sure.
Then? Okay. Yeah. So people can email you. All right, you guys. Thank you so much, Lori. I'm just going to play the outro, but stay. I want to thank you backstage.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was great fun. I enjoyed it.
Remember, you promised you're coming back. You said it.
Anytime.
Okay. Just as long as we, you know, I mean, I'm glad you agreed to come back, but I will.
Sure.
I'll stalk you. That's just
please
how
do.
It'll be. Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Smash a like on the way out and leave a comment after the video posts. And I will see you guys tomorrow. But like I always say, enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Bye.
Amen to that. Good night.
If you like what you see,